Hello everybody, welcome to Tales from the Backlog. My name is Dave Jackson, and this is a video games show where I bring in guests to talk about the games we play. My guest today is a friend of the show, a homing briefcase enthusiast and professional hitman, Scott Danielson.
And Jason Portman fanboy. Good to be here, man. Thanks for having me on. Again.
Good to have you back. This is part 2 of the Dave and Scott Hitman trilogy. And today's game is Hitman 2, which is game 2 of the World of Assassin trilogy, which are immersive stealth games developed by IO Interactive, and this one was published by Warner Brothers Interactive in 2018. Elevator pitch for Hitman 2 is, you liked the first one, right? Here's more. Sound right to you?
Yeah, no, I think that pretty much covers it. I did not know that it was published by Warner Brothers Interactive. That's funny.
Yeah, IOI has had it seems like they're really scraping to get a couple of these Hitman games out until Hitman 3. So different publishers and stuff like that.
By then they'd proved the concept and other people wanted in.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we get into Hitman 2, Scott, what else have you been playing recently?
I mean, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, Destiny 2 is always going to be at the top of that list. Seriously, if you ever start a podcast where you need like a weekly Destiny 2 correspondent, I am your guy. They just had a big 30th, but they're celebrating Bungie's 30th anniversary right now, and so they just released kind of a big content drop that's like focused on a bunch of fun and games, and it's got a new dungeon, and it's all very silly, and everybody's having a really great time with it. So I've been playing that a lot over the last couple days. And then I recently picked up Destroy All Humans, which I know is not a new game by any means, but it's kind of a cult classic that I missed in its heyday and was recently released as a free game on Stadia. And so I started playing that, and it's just a ton of silly fun.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Play this like alien clone that needs to like harvest its own dormant DNA to prevent like the subsequent breaking down of their species over because they reproduce by cloning.
Of course.
And so you just kind of like get a ship and a suit that you just sort of upgrade throughout the world, and like each mission is just causing as much havoc as you possibly can in these small little suburban towns. It's very funny and very irreverent. So that's mostly what I've been playing.
That sounds cool.
How about you?
Yeah, let's see. What have I been playing that's not for this show? I just started Returnal. I'm pretty sure I'll do an episode on this show unless it turns out to be too difficult. But I've been playing Returnal and enjoying that and getting my ass kicked. Anyone who tells you that this game is difficult is 100% correct. This game's hard as fuck. But I'm having a lot of fun, and it's got this kind of cool sci-fi story mystery so far, and I'm enjoying that. So yeah, playing Returnal, and I'm playing a couple of games that will make appearances on the show later. I'm playing Earthbound, and that's for the first time.
Like the original Earthbound?
Yeah, playing it for the first time.
Nice.
Yeah, I picked up a 3DS that was hacked at one of the electronics markets here in Seoul. So I've been having a good time going back through all these like Super Nintendo games on emulators, but it's great to play them handheld because I will not play an emulated game for like 30-40 hours on my computer. It's just not as comfortable.
That's exhausting.
Yeah. So, like, having it on the 3DS has been awesome. And
very cool.
As we're recording this, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl came out recently, like the Diamond and Pearl remakes. I didn't buy that because I don't know, never felt the need for that. But I did kind of get some Pokemon FOMO, so I started up Pokemon Black 2 on the 3DS, which is... I never played it, but it's like the one in the series that I didn't play, and it's the one that people say is like, hey, this one's actually like, you know, it's got like a story that's actually not the worst story ever made. So I've always kind of wanted to try it. So yeah, Returnal,
right on.
Earthbound, Pokemon Black 2. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember if I said that, if I've said this on this or any of your other shows before, but I the last Pokemon game I played was Red and Blue. Like, I am familiar with the very first 151 Pokemon, and that is all.
Yeah. It's a lot of people got mad like with Sword and Shield that they kind of cut out like 60% of the Pokemon out of the game and like you just can't catch them. And I think that was a great decision actually because like if the goal is to catch them all, if that's what you're interested in, at this point it's such
1,200 Pokemon is a little unwieldy.
Yeah, it's a little unwieldy, and there's so many Pokemon that have only been given out through events, and in order to get them, you have to like find someone on the internet to trade with you and stuff like that. And you know how people on the internet are. I don't want to talk to people on the internet. So I think it was a good idea cutting out all those Pokemon. And the one for Switch, Sword and Shield, I like it a lot. It was pretty fun.
Nice. Switch seems like the kind of console that would get me to try a new Pokemon game for the first time since 1998 or whatever that came out.
Yeah, things have changed a lot since then, man. The Pokemon is I mean the game and like the game mechanics are much better than Pokemon Red and Blue. If you go back and play it now, it's pretty dated in a lot of ways, but I don't know, they're still not making stories that do anything, and their target audience is still 9-year-olds. So like, people like us, the games are not for us really. So we kind of just have fun. That's all it is.
You're still trying to get that like hit of nostalgia out of a game that has changed so much from the thing that you are nostalgic about.
Yeah. And that's why I think so many Pokemon fans complain anytime the company does anything. But who knows? Like as we're recording this in December, and it's going to come out a few months later. So by the time this comes out, the open world Pokemon game that is like their, let's make Breath of the Wild or whatever, will be out. Pokemon.
Oh, that has my attention.
Legends Arceus or Arceus. I don't know how to say the Pokemon's name. But yeah, that one's like it looks like an open world. There's Pokemon running around as like, actual like enemy monsters out on the field, and they can like hurt your player character, like your person avatar. They can like Pokemon can hurt them. So like when one starts charging at you, you gotta like be quick on the draw and throw another Pokemon out there to defend you. Either that, or I think I saw in a trailer like someone dodging out of the way or something like that. Like I said, by the time this episode's released, the game will be out, so maybe I'm wrong about that. So give me some slack, people listening. But
yeah, wait for all the comments you're gonna get when this episode drops.
Yeah, exactly. But it looks really, really interesting. And it's basically like whenever people would ask like, hey Dave, what's your dream game? Like for the past 15 years, I've always said like my dream game is like a proper open world Pokemon game. Like I would say like a Skyrim open world, but Pokemon. And this is the closest thing we've gotten. So I'm excited about that.
Heck yeah. That's, like I said, that sounds like something that could potentially bring me back to it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. This is the Pokemon Company, so I'm like half expecting them to fuck it up and ruin my dream, but who knows? But dude, I was gonna say, Destroy All Humans is it's like they put you in a level, and your goal is to just kill everything and destroy everything on the screen, basically.
Pretty much, at least as far as my experience. So I've only put like an hour into it so far, but like there's like it's a fairly lengthy like cinematic introduction, but it starts with this very funny like sequence where like the premise is that like there is this overlord like alien dude, and he like clones himself to be these monsters or to be his like minions, and their species just in general like can no longer like reproduce organically, so they've been cloning themselves to keep the species going, However, the like DNA that they're using to clone like degrades a little bit over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, I don't remember the specifics, but like way back in the day, when Earth like was created, like some pure form of the DNA that this species relies on was like embedded into part of like humankind's DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And so they like located the fact that this resource that they need is on Earth. They invade Earth, but the first place they land is like this farm, and so like all they find is cows. And there's this hilarious opening sequence where they think that like the cows are the dominant species of the planet, and start like trying to issue commands, and then the cow just like shits on the grass, and he's like, I don't think this is it. But yeah, so far like the only levels I've played is basically like you can either jump in or out of your UFO, or you can run around like on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And each of those things is like a different state of the game, where I get the impression that like you basically like each mission is a set amount of time, and you earn a score based on like the percentage of the population you were able to wipe out, and the amount of property damage you caused, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which you then can like spend upgrading and the like weapons on your ship, or the capabilities of your suit or whatever.
Sweet.
But yeah, it's just like it's one of those kind of games that has found a way to make like just like wanton destruction something you can engage in guilt free.
Hell yeah. I mean, I was just thinking like there's been a couple days this week where I came home from work and I was like, I'm like too stressed out to play Returnal right now, or like I can't focus on like playing Earthbound right now. That's exactly the kind of game that I was like kind of hoping for. Like I just want to like carefree, just run around and destroy shit. That sounds pretty perfect, actually.
Yeah, it definitely does it in a really humorous way, but like for what it's worth, like that's also how like me and my Thursday Night Fire team talk about Destiny. Like when we're wanting to, somebody's throwing out the idea to play together tonight or something, they're like, man, I'm having a hell of a day, does anyone want to get on and shoot some aliens tonight?
Yeah, exactly.
Just like blow off some steam.
Yeah,
because there's just so many places you can go, and just like it doesn't take work. You just like point and shoot, and the aliens will keep coming, and they'll just keep dying. And it's cathartic.
Hell yeah. There's something therapeutic in mowing down entire species, aliens or humans.
Mm-hmm. Not in real life.
Well, yeah, not
genocide is not therapeutic in real life.
Well, I mean, I haven't tried it, but we'll just go. Presumably not therapeutic in any way.
Cut this. We cut this part, right?
No, it all stays, baby.
This part gets edited. Oh no. Okay.
All right.
Well, we better quickly pivot into talking about a game about assassinating people.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, this is a nice place to transition from destroying whole species into tactically taking out one or two or three specific people.
Something with no ethical complications at all.
No, I mean, you're actually doing the world a favor by taking these people out. So, let's get into Hitman.
That's a fair point.
So we always start on the show by giving a brief spoiler warning. The Hitman 2, like in the Hitman 1 episode, I should say, we covered Hitman 1 back in, I believe it was episode 3 of this show, was Hitman 1, Hitman from 2016, Scott and I. So, same deal goes, Hitman 2 also has a story with some spoilable things if you really, really care about the story. I personally don't care at all about the story in the first two Hitman games, but we are going to avoid talking about spoiler parts from the story, but most importantly, the levels of the Hitman games are the real stars. And I think that going through these levels with fresh eyes, unspoiled, finding these mission stories or kind of experimenting with them is definitely something that I would like people to experience for the first time if you're going to play this after listening to this show. So we're going to talk about like what the levels look like a little bit, but that's all we're going to do before the spoiler section. So, with that being said, we also always start the show by giving our histories with the game and what brought us to this, and maybe what brought us to Hitman 2 specifically. So, Scott, did you play Hitman 1 first, or did you play Hitman 2 first?
It is... I was thinking about this earlier. It is possible, and trying to remember exactly what happened, and I think I mentioned on the first episode that we did of this that I came into the game just within the last like 2 years. It's my first Hitman game ever, because of a piece of content that was free on Stadia, and then like I played like one level and I went and bought everything else. I want to say it's possible that that the first level of Hitman 2 was actually the first level I played. And then I went and I bought everything and I started over at the beginning.
Okay.
So I think I started with a Hitman 2 level, but like I didn't play all of Hitman 2 before I played Hitman 1.
So I also started by playing Hitman 2 because I think it was just on sale or something like that. And I had heard people on other podcasts talking about it. And this is what I said in the first episode, like what got me into the series. I bought Hitman 2 and I started up Hawke's Bay, which is the first level. And I kind of did a little tangent about how I don't see these games as immersive sims, because I don't think you can play these games the way you want to. I think you have to play the way the game is designed to be played in here. So I wasn't, and it's a very particular rhythm in these Hitman games, and I was not ready for it. So I got really, really frustrated playing Hawke's Bay. And Hawke's Bay is kind of unusual for Hitman 2 because the level is super small and super condensed, like all the people are really condensed. So I actually got really frustrated and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I got some advice to like, just get through that mission any way you can and go do Miami, which is mission 2. And as soon as I got into Miami, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand what I'm doing here. So after that, I played all through the Hitman 2 levels, and then I bought the Hitman 1 levels as DLC. And then after playing Hitman 3, I've played back through Hitman 1 and 2 in the Hitman 3 engine. So that's one of the cool things about the series. Like if you're just listening and aren't aware of it, if you buy any of the Hitman, well, if you buy Hitman 2 or Hitman 3, you can play the previous game or games in the new engine. And so they're all contained in this one package. So if you buy Hitman 3, which you should, Hitman 3 is really good, you can play through all of the levels from all 3 of the games right there in one package, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this last time, but like if you own all of the content from Hitman's 1, 2, and 3, and you just like start at the beginning and just play through, like you could very easily play all the way through the end of the game and not notice where the game breaks are between 1 and 2 and then 2 and 3.
Yeah, if you don't pay attention to the labeling in the menus, because this is not like I don't know, some other game series where there are like huge jumps in between. There are like small mechanical things that seem to change, and Hitman 3 is more story based than the first 2, but other than that, it's basically one complete package.
Yeah, it's all the same engine, it's all the same gameplay mechanics. And I think that's something that they did a really good job with, was like kind of each game does sort of provide new experiences in some specific ways, but it at no point does it feel like you're ever playing a different game or having to learn a new game.
Yeah, and Hitman 1 compared to Hitman 3 does not feel dated in any way, really, because they've they've kind of brought it up to be with the most current version of the engine and the most current graphics and stuff like that. Even though, I mean, Hitman 1's a PS4 game, like that era, it's not like it looks terrible now. So, for anyone curious, one playthrough of one of these Hitman games takes me about 10 to 12 hours. Each level runs from between, when you don't know exactly what you're doing, each level is about 1 to 2 hours. And yeah, I think that they're nice little like play sessions in little chunks there. And like if you know what you're doing, the level can take you like, 25 minutes or even less if you know exactly what you're doing. You watch that speedrunner go through the entire game in like 12 minutes or something like that, which was insane.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of level completions in like under 5 minutes, but not with that level of like cleanliness and like precision.
Yeah. We can we'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about the game mechanics. So let's take a little break. Let's listen to some Hitman music, and when we come back, we'll talk about the mechanics and how the game works. Like we said, we talked about Hitman 1 back in episode 3 of this show, Scott and I. And Hitman 2 plays basically exactly the same. So much so that we're actually not going to go through the mechanics in detail and talk about them here. So if you want the lowdown on how Hitman works, go back to episode 3, listen to the beginning of that show where we talk about how the stealth and everything works. But just to recap, here's a quick list of things that make this World of Assassination trilogy so unique among stealth games, and what honestly makes it so that I have a lot of trouble playing other stealth games. So, the first thing to note is that Agent 47 was the best in episode 3 and continues to be the best in this episode of the show.
More so, I would argue.
He
really starts coming into his own in Hitman 2.
Rounding into form. The one-liners that he gives and the situations that he finds himself in they're just fantastic. We noted in the episode before that Agent 47 is able to do anything competently, and during the games you'll be impersonating people, like getting their disguises, and a lot of the like tailored mission stories involve you getting a specific disguise, and then 47 has to go do something that you wouldn't expect a hitman to do, and it's really good.
Like technical stuff, like real, like that seem like they would involve technical skills or like career experience doing that thing. He just can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to think of some, like, without spoilers here. Like there's one that it just sticks in my head because it's so funny. You impersonate a real estate agent in one of the levels, and this guy's looking to buy a house, and 47 just gives a very natural and very smooth real estate tour of this house for sale. And like, I don't know, someone who's never played the games, if you just watch the scene, it's very dry and stuff like that. But like, Scott, you and I, when we see this, I'm just cracking up laughing during these scenes. I find 47 to be so charming and funny throughout the game.
The writing for him and also the scenarios that he gets put in do this really wonderful thing where, like, when you're watching it unfold, you are having two like competing thoughts simultaneously, where like one side of your brain is like the logical side of your brain is like, I understand that objectively this is patently absurd.
Yeah.
This makes no sense. This is outrageous. This is borderline slapstick. And then the other, like, the emotional side of your brain is like, but I am buying it. I am paying full price for it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I totally believe that he is being this person in this moment.
Yep. Like in Hitman 1, when 47 impersonates a drummer and just gets behind the drum set and just plays drums, and there's been no indication at all that he would ever be able to play drums, but he just hops on and does a little beat, some drum fills, and competently plays drums. And there's just so many little moments like that throughout the series.
That's a unique one too, because that one gets like a little cutscene. Like when you actually like pull that mission off, it gets a little cutscene, and I don't think they do that in any of the Hitman 2 levels, or maybe even the Hitman 3 levels, like to that extent, where like a mission story involves like an actual like unplayable movie where 47 does something badass that you don't have any control over.
Yeah, exactly. But for the rest of the game, when 47's not displaying this incredible technical skill in literally anything, piloting any vehicle he comes across, anything you want him to do, he can do. When he's not doing that, you're engaged in the immersive stealth, which again, we went in like great detail in episode 3. Go listen to that if you haven't. But the highlights of this immersive stealth system are hiding in plain sight. Instead of hiding in the shadows or hiding in cardboard boxes, you're hiding in plain sight by changing disguises. And so the example I think I gave last time is like, okay, you need to go in a kitchen and do something in a kitchen. You need to steal a waiter's outfit. You need to incapacitate a waiter, steal their outfit. Everything fits 47. That's another great talent that he has, is every piece of clothing ever made is a perfect fit for him.
Unless a woman is wearing it.
That's true.
You cannot take disguises off women.
Yeah, which was a smart move by the developers because they understand gamers. Gamers will... Yeah. So you're stealing disguises, and those kind of act as your keys to get through certain areas. And... well, in the first game, they act as your keys to get through doors in one level, but I digress. The other thing that we've kind of hinted at before with that speed run, which we can talk about this now, one of the most amazing things about these games is how you use objects and NPC behavior and level design to manipulate NPCs in very predictable ways. So an example I wrote down is there's a level in this game in a bank, and you can pick up wet floor signs. And if you put a wet floor sign down, NPCs won't walk over there. And that's just one of like probably hundreds of examples that reward you being creative and just thinking like, hey, I wonder if I do this, will it have an effect on them? And like oftentimes it does.
Yeah, and I've been thinking a lot about your resistance to calling it an immersive sim as laid out in our last episode, and I think it does require you to play according to a specific set of rules. But once you like agree to those rules, I do feel like there is a ton of freedom.
There is, yeah,
in what you can do and how you accomplish your goals. And I think what's one of the things that's interesting is that when you first start playing the game, it feels as though it wants you to think of the worlds as actual living worlds with like individual people in them. But it doesn't take very long before you start to realize like, oh no, this game is training me to see these NPCs as AI routines. Like It wants me to think of this as a program and find the places in which I can disrupt the flow of the program and make it and force it to change course.
Exactly. And so we mentioned like a speed run earlier, and this particular speed run I was thinking of, I'll put in the episode description. It's frankly, most speed runs are incredible to me, but this Hitman speed run is fucking wild. So this, if you're having trouble appreciating or like don't quite understand what we mean by like manipulating these NPC AI behaviors, this person has just mastered these systems where they will say like, okay, I need to throw this in this specific window. The NPC there will hear it. They'll walk in there, and now that room is clear for me to walk through. Or like, I need to do this, which will trigger the NPCs to move into this room, and then I need to do this, which will make them walk in front of the window, and then I can have a clear shot into the window. And like, these are all things that you can test and learn, and even if you're not speed running, it's just super useful to be like, that guy's in my way. I can't just walk past him, but I have 55 ways to manipulate this guy and get him out of the way instead of just shooting him in the face, which frankly, like, you can do in the Hitman games. You can shoot. It's not a bad third-person shooter, but I don't think that's the way the games are designed to be played. It's designed to be manipulated, like Scott said.
Well, and you will literally lose points for killing non-targets. So if that's your way of getting like a guard or something out of your way, like, the game will penalize you for that.
Yeah. And 47 goes down in a couple of shots anyway. It's not like not like you can get in a big firefight like you versus 25 guards, which will happen once guns start firing. The entire level will turn hostile against you. So anyway, this I don't know, the immersive sim thing. Like, when I think of immersive sims, I think of like Deus Ex and Dishonored and stuff like that. And those games you literally can play any way you want. They're built in a way that if you want to kill everybody in the level, that's cool, and the game is made for you to be able to do that and have fun doing that. And if you want to not kill anybody for the entire playthrough, the game is designed in that way too. You can do that too. And in Hitman, I just don't feel like it's built with that level of freedom. But you're right. Once you do get into like the way the game is built to be played, you have almost unlimited freedom to manipulate the NPCs.
Yeah, like it does ask you to buy into a certain set of restrictions, but I just don't think those restrictions are necessarily as limiting as they might feel at the start.
At the start, it's real rough at the beginning, and at least it was for me. It might not be everybody's experience. Was it for you?
It was not for me, but only because I was already like when it comes to shooters, I mean, obviously, like, other than things like Destiny, like, I've never been big on, like the Call of Duty games or things like that. Like, when you talk about like Tom Clancy games, like, I always loved Splinter Cell way more than I loved like Rainbow Six. Mm-hmm. So like, I was already prepared to like, okay, you just tell me like where I have to stand and wait and observe, and I'm into it. But one of the things that I wanted to mention earlier is that I think Night Call, which is the first mission in Hitman 2, it is kind of a tutorial level, but it definitely assumes that you've already played Hitman 1, and so it is like a refresher tutorial. So I think it's a very bad first tutorial, which is why I totally understand why you got frustrated by it.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, it is because you are going through the level and it's teaching you about, here's a security camera, shoot out the security camera or stuff like that. But I think it's a pretty bad tutorial because it's not really representative of what most of the Hitman levels are like. This is not, pieces moving around according to schedules. It's really just like a house full of people, and you have to. I mean, it's not that hard once you get a hold of the, like, I need to get a new disguise and I need to hide this body and then I'll probably be fine after that. But yeah, I think Miami is a better intro level for this game.
Agreed.
Other parts of the kind of Hitman game flow are finding mission stories as you go through. And these are like tailored stories that will either get you a private audience with your target in the levels or just kind of move you closer to them or let you get into a restricted area somehow. And then, it's up to you to finish it out however you can. I follow mission stories when I play this. The mission stories are endlessly entertaining to me. And I'm not the most like creative doing the kind of stuff by myself. Like, I have a couple of level playthroughs in this episode we'll talk about in the spoiler section where I couldn't find a mission story, or like the mission story kind of broke down or something like that, and I had to improvise and still have a good time. But these mission stories are really, really fun. And especially for new players, I recommend, like, when a mission story reveals itself, you'll get this big pop-up on the HUD, and I do recommend following those for new players.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think they're brilliantly written, and I generally tend to make a point. I've said this before, but I generally tend to make a point to play through all of them before I start going into like trying to explore what creative options for like my own, like inventing my own assassinations are, because I feel like you can't really do it in the other direction, right? Like if you just start playing it and you're just like, screw all the scripting, all I want to do is just like sandbox it, which I guess is fine, but then going back and then trying to do the story missions later, or the mission stories later, is going to be probably like a little bit less satisfying, because then it feels a little bit more restrictive.
Yeah. But they are fun to follow. You do get to meet some interesting characters throughout, and like we said earlier, these are the opportunities where you see 47 really like just pulling out every trick in the book, and it's I don't know. Honestly, that's one of the big joys of the game, is seeing 47 in these different situations where, you know, he's this very calm, very dry character, but his personality shines through in these mission stories. So definitely recommend people check those out.
And they're a great way to get a feel for like the map, right?
Yeah.
Like every map, and I think like Hitman 2 in particular has a lot of big maps. Like there's a lot of stuff that it would be, I mean, there's a lot of stuff the mission stories won't show you, but there's like, if you play through all the mission stories, you will have seen most of the map.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you'll get the opportunity to be like, okay, well, next time I play through, I'll skip this mission story and go inspect that other thing that this mission story didn't take me to.
Or, you know, like, this isn't in Hitman 2, but in Hitman 1, there's a level in Marrakesh, and one of the things in Marrakesh is you have to go inside of the Swedish consulate, and a couple of the mission stories give you ways to get into the consulate, which is this heavily guarded building. And then once you've done that mission story, just this level as an example, if you want to get back in there and not do a mission story, well, now you know a couple of ways to get in. And or at least you're familiar with the building, so the next time you don't need a mission story to get in because you're already familiar. So I think the mission stories are better teachers for this game than the actual tutorial. So yeah, and should be noted that the Hawke's Bay thing I don't believe has mission stories. So again, not a great tutorial level in our opinion.
It does, however, have one of the best escalation missions, which is a seasonally available Halloween-themed mission, in which you infiltrate the dreams of the guy. I can't remember his name, but the guy that's in that mission.
So it's
and it's super cool.
It's like a Hitman persona or something like that.
Kinda, yeah. You can't you have to knock him out. You can't kill him because you don't want him dead. Because if you die in a dream, you die in real life or something like that.
Of course,
but,
we all know that to be true.
Of course, that's just science.
So the general flow through, like for me, and Scott, I'd be interested to hear your kind of general flow through one of these maps. So you start out in a default location with 47's default outfit, which is normally, you know, a suit, but I feel like Hitman 2 starts to give 47 some great starting outfits. You will wander around, listen to some NPCs, kind of explore some buildings, just getting the lay of the land, and then you'll inevitably find a mission story. You'll get a thing that pops up on the HUD, and for me, I always follow the mission story, and you go through this cycle of like, okay, I need to get in there, but the guards won't let me in there, so I need to find a new disguise to get in there. And then you get into that place, and maybe you need to distract some people, maybe you need to incapacitate some people and dump them into dumpsters or something like that. A lot of like very hot levels, temperature wise in here. And so I always felt bad dumping people into like dumpsters full of flies and stuff like that. But, you know, do what you got to do.
That guy's going to have a heat stroke by the time anyone finds him.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but as long as you don't kill them, then your conscience is clean.
Exactly.
So you just go through this thing of like kind of puzzling your way as you get deeper through the level. Maybe you need a new disguise. Maybe you just need to distract some guards. Whatever you need to do, keep moving through the level. And then either your mission story or your creativity will get you an opportunity to kill the target. Most levels have at least 2 targets. Some levels have 3. I don't think there's any with 4 in Hitman 2, right? That's just in Colorado.
Just the one in Hitman 1, I think.
Right. So you take out your targets, and then the last part is you need to escape. And each level will give you several ways and places to escape the level. And these are often very funny, too. And I made sure to note how I escaped from each level on my notes in the spoiler section. But we'll save that. So, Scott, I follow mission stories, and this is how I go through these levels. What's your process now that you've played all the mission stories and you're really going creative?
So I think, something that's worth mentioning, if for no other reason than poke a little bit of fun at you, is that like when you start a mission, you always can see where your targets are by using a feature called Instinct, which I know that from our conversations and from watching you play on Twitch here and there that like you just don't use very often, which is fine. Like like no shade, I totally respect it. But like at any point you can hold a button and go into Instinct mode, which kind of makes everything gray, and it will light up the things you can interact with in yellow, and it will also show you like in a red outline, no matter how many walls or surfaces are between you and your target, like the direction of your targets. And so you can always kind of see where they are and roughly how far away they are. And then like I think one of the things that makes me love this series of games so much is that like from then on it's just observation. Like and it's like full sensory observation too. Like so not only are you wandering around, you're exploring the space, you're getting a sense of how the space is laid out and where like restricted areas might be and what disguises you might need to get into those areas, but you're also listening like to overhear conversations, because even if they are not conversations that will literally start a mission story, there are a lot of what the game something the game does really well is it triggers by 47's proximity to the NPCs that are going to have the discussion. It will wait until you're close enough to start that audio, and then that audio, even if it's not something directly actionable, will often provide like some contextual information about something that's happening on the map, right? So like we'll get into the specifics of some of the Hitman 2 levels a little bit later, but like from Hitman 1, for example, like you might overhear people on the Colorado map talking about this like dangerous like car ram testing that's happening in this one side of the map, and that doesn't start a mission story, but it does give like force you to make the mental note to like, oh, I'm gonna have to go check that out because that sounds like a situation I might be able to get involved with. So I think like just after playing each of these levels as much as I have at this point, I would say that like I now start them. I kind of have gotten to the point where I set my own goals for myself. Like I'll still play contracts and escalations and stuff, but I'll be like, I wonder if I can like assassinate that guy and dispose of him at this other place on the other side of the map. And then like I'll like challenge myself to do that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I would say that, like now more than ever before, I go into a gameplay session just like hawk-eyed looking for shit that I have never noticed before. And there still are those things. Like I'm still encountering like little items to interact with, or like, you know, the mole holes, or like the thing, you know, the environmental things you can interact with that have like multiple steps to pulling off an assassination. Those are the things that I'm like really looking for now. As well as like kind of the higher XP challenges, because there are still plenty of levels that I haven't reached 20th level mastery yet. which I want to do because that's what gets you all the fun items and rewards that you can then use in subsequent playthroughs.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good point. When you finish the levels, you unlock new starting locations, new starting outfits. You can unlock places where you can you can stash a weapon somewhere. So you can say I can't take a weapon into this building, but I can, I have this level of mastery in the level. I can start with a weapon in a trash can in the building. And so you can do that. You unlock new items to take with you, like new types of poison, new weapons, all kinds of stuff. So they're really they start you out, and I think it's good. They start you out with very few starting options. So you really just need to learn the level, and then they really give you so many more ways to experience the level as you replay them, because these levels are built to be replayed basically as many times as you want to. This is not a situation where you're going to play through the game 1 or 2 times and see everything there is to see. These are basically infinitely replayable.
Yeah, and to your point earlier, you were talking about okay, I want to get into that kitchen because I want to poison some food or whatever. And so you got to find a server, a kitchen staff member who is off on his own that you can knock out and take his disguise. After you've played through the level a few times and you've unlocked a couple of the other starting locations, you might be able to then start the mission already undercover in the kitchen, dressed as a chef, right? And so then you're you don't have 47's classic suit. You actually start in a disguise. Which itself introduces a whole bunch of interesting challenges, then getting back out of there and finding a suit that you can wander around the map in with as much freedom as 47's suit would have afforded you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And with the instinct thing, so this is just endlessly funny to me. So it's a major thing. It's you hold down, I think it's L1 on PlayStation to activate this instinct vision, and you can see everything on the map that you can interact with, or everything that's close to you that you can interact with, and then the
fundamental game mechanic.
It is a fundamental game mechanic, and I just cannot remember that it exists. So I'll go through entire playthroughs of a level, and I just don't use it. And it's not because I'm doing some pro gamer shit. I just legit keep forgetting. I didn't even write it in the notes for either episode about these games because I can't remember to put it on here. It's insane.
But honestly, I know you say that, but and I know that I have probably a ton more playtime in this game than you, but you might be a better player than me because you still managed to complete these missions. And I looked over your notes, you've completed a lot of the story missions and stuff without ever using those, which is wild to me.
And that's a testament to how well the game is designed, because I'm starting to think of could you beat and have fun with The Witcher 3 without using the Witcher vision? And I don't think you could. I think you need to use the Witcher vision in that game. And in Hitman, the Witcher vision, the instinct mode, is really helpful, but it is 100% not necessary. But oftentimes in the Twitch streams, I would be like, God damn it, I need a wrench. I can't find a fucking wrench. And Scott would be in the chat just being like, dude, instinct will show you where a wrench is. And I'm like, holy shit, instinct. Yes, of course. What a concept.
Well, and what's funny is that you actually can't, I feel I use it still a lot because it's a habit, but I feel I probably could get by without it better than I do, because I already know what the in-game things are, right? So one of the things that'll illuminate is the doors and the chests where you can stash a dead or unconscious body, right?
Right.
And I remember I was watching you on a stream the other day, and you were like, oh, there's nowhere to stash a body in here. And I'm like, dude, there's a closet and a chest in here, which would light up yellow if you used instinct. But I only know that because I've looked at them through instinct so many times.
Right.
So once you've used it enough and you kind of know what you train your eyes to look for the things that you can interact with.
Yeah.
You may not need it as much, but I am impressed by your ability to complete these missions, particularly in the time that it takes you, without using that feature at all.
Well, that's because I follow mission stories most of the time. I think it would be a lot harder if I was just going on pure creativity. The mission stories are pretty easy to follow. They very rarely make you do something like really, really difficult. It's mostly just like, get this disguise, follow this person, go do this, go play the drums or whatever.
And they give you like HUD indicators and like they're pretty specific with the step you need to take. So like it's pretty handheld.
Yeah. And those a lot of those places, like I'm thinking places to stash bodies and stuff like that, those are often on the mini map also. So like a lot of times you can just look at the mini map and be like, oh yeah, of course there's a dumpster full of flies here to dump bodies in. Just thinking like The Witcher or the Batman Arkham games, like you can't really play those games without that mode. And in Hitman, it's a luxury. It's really nice, but
definitely
not necessary. So, all right, let's take a little break, listen to some more Hitman music. When we come back, we'll talk about the story and the levels in the game. Okay, we're back, and let's talk about the story in Hitman 2. So, I kind of talk shit about the story in Hitman 1 in that episode. It's basically an excuse to get 47 into these locations. I think that the story in Hitman 2 is a little bit more direct and therefore a little bit easier to follow, and there is actually a little bit more of a story here. So in the story, before and after each level, you'll get a cutscene, and what's happening in the cutscenes as they explain the targets to you is not often like it's not groundbreaking stuff, but I do want to say that those cutscenes have incredible art direction and they look amazing. Like they look really cool. So don't skip those cutscenes, but like the backstories for these people, the people you're targeting are all giant pieces of shit. That's basically like, rich people. I mean, ultra rich people. The world's elite doing incredibly shady and terrible things, so you're sent to take them out. But yeah, those cutscenes are really, really well directed, and like the visual design is so good. Please watch those. Don't skip those, even though the story content is, in my opinion, not great.
I think I'm glad you like them. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is Hitman 1 has their cutscenes are. I think these are more so the like cutscenes in between missions rather than like the mission briefings.
Right.
But they have these kind of like full motion, not like live action, but like full motion animation cutscenes with characters kind of moving around and interacting with each other. And in Hitman 2, I don't know exactly why. I don't know if it was like a budget cut or a stylistic choice or what, but like the cutscenes in between missions are more like slideshows. Like they're kind of like they're more like a series of still images. It's still beautiful art, but I was curious about like what you thought about that, because I think, well, I'll give my opinion in a sec, but like, how did you feel about the transition from like kind of fully animated cutscenes to kind of this more like artsy, like series of vignette kind of cutscenes with full recorded audio over top of them, but like a series of still images rather than full video.
Yeah, you're right. The kind of mission briefings, those are the ones that have these like incredible visual design and like visual effects and stuff like that. Those are
like really good like kinetic typography and stuff like that.
Yeah, those are excellent. And then the kind of story-based cutscenes, the story, because you're learning more in this game about the story of 47, like 47's backstory, and then the actual plot in the present. And yeah, those are like these, like you said, it's almost like watching a slideshow, and I really like them. I like I would rather watch that where you have these like really, really gorgeous still like photos or drawings. I would rather watch that than, a cutscene that's like played out in the game engine or something like that. I don't know. I always found those to be really, really pretty, and so I didn't really mind that it was just, you're going to look at this image for 5 or 10 seconds and then this image for the next 10 seconds. Yeah, I didn't mind at all. How about you?
So this is thinking about this is where I kind of realized that, like, other than the fact that I love this game, like, my more specific opinions about, like, more granular elements of these games have, like, almost all of them have shifted a little bit since I started playing. And when I first started Hitman 2 and I first started getting these cutscenes, I was disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, I wish these were still full motion cutscenes. I liked watching the characters of 47 and Diana, like, interact with each other and whatever. But, like, my second, third, fourth time watching through them, I'm like, no, actually, I think this does a really good job of, like, of making the story feel, because what happens, and I don't want to get too much into it before we get behind the spoiler wall, but, like, Hitman 2 represents, like, a zooming in of, like, the kind of narrative stakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I in my opinion, it kind of retroactively makes a lot of what happened like, plot wise in Hitman 1 make a lot more sense. Hitman 1 was a lot of, at the moment, it felt like nonsense. It was a lot of, like, proper nouns of shadowy and mysterious organizations that you don't really understand who they are or what they're trying to do. Yeah. Whereas, like, Hitman 2 focuses on a lot more individual characters with either names or designations like the Shadow Client or the Constant. And, like, for some reason it feels a lot easier to care about a narrative arc, like, on that level than on, like, this is Iago and, like, all these, like, big names of organizations that you're like, I don't give a shit who that is. Like, Sinister Incorporated.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I almost feel like, upon further reflection, the way that they changed the cutscenes to be these, like you're watching watching a person put down, like, Polaroid photo after Polaroid photo of, like, a vacation. They almost feel a little bit more intimate in a way that mirrors the story.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you care about these characters and the relationships between them and the events that are unfolding between them a little bit more than you ever had to in the first game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The kind of scope in this game, this game is still about secret societies and shadowy organizations and stuff, but it's really focused on about 4 characters throughout the whole story, and that kind, like you said, that zooming in is definitely helpful for if you want to get invested in this story. It's definitely helpful.
And I think, and we'll talk about this obviously in greater detail in our third episode. But yeah. Like, I think that Hitman 3 delivers narratively a payoff that you did not know you were waiting for since Hitman 1, right? Mm-hmm. Like it when Hitman 3 ends, all of a sudden, all of the narrative choices that they made in Hitman 1 and 2 make a whole lot more sense. And I think Hitman 2 is, like, where they start to make that transition. And all of a sudden, the story starts to feel like it might actually be building to something interesting and not just like, okay, this could be any Bourne movie or Tom Clancy movie or whatever.
Right. And we'll get into that, but the ending of Hitman 2, like, actually leaves you with, like, a plot cliffhanger that is then what Hitman 3 is based on. So in that way, like, they are actually, like, giving you a story that's a lot easier to get engaged with here. So in Hitman 2, it begins with 47 on the hunt for someone named the Shadow Client, which is, just the proper nouns. 47's agency, which is called the ICA, which it stands for International Contract Agency, right?
Yep.
Which, very funny name for a secret hitman organization.
Yeah, they sound like a legal firm or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like international shipping business or something like that. No, this is the world's elite assassins work for the International Contract Agency, or yeah. So Hitman, I keep saying Hitman, 47 is on the hunt for this shadow client, and then the hunt commences for someone named the Constant. And like you mentioned, the proper nouns and the secret society terminology and stuff like that. It's all in full effect in Hitman 2 as well. And the reason they're looking for this Constant is the Constant knows the identities of the Providence board members, and Providence is like this Illuminati secret society in the game, the people that are pulling the strings behind everything that happens in the world. And so you have that
and they
plot.
were set up as like one of the most like sinister entities in the story at the beginning of Hitman 1.
Right.
They've been around since early on.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's the kind of present day plot, and then you also are learning some of 47's backstory in Hitman 2, which then becomes one of the main plots in Hitman 3. So the Hitman 1 story, it was kind of like 47 is this nameless person with a mysterious history, and then in Hitman 2 you actually do learn some of his backstory. So it's like we said, it's a lot easier to get into kind of the personal side and get attached to some of these characters here a little bit, especially 47. He's the star, and giving his backstory is definitely helpful.
And in that way, they kind of build the narrative over the 3 games the same way they build like the player experience in any given game, right? Where like bit by bit they introduce you to the concepts you need to understand in order to then move on to like the next tier of systems or whatever that you're interacting with in the next most complicated level. And like in Hitman 1, the plot wasn't the point. It only needed to like hold up the story missions, because what they wanted to do is they wanted to teach you how to be 47 in these levels.
Right.
And now that you know how to do that, now they can start turning 47 into like an actual character and making the story that he's a part of have purpose and momentum.
Exactly. Yeah. And so like, I guess like before we talk about spoilers for the story later, I'll just say that like, I think you said it well when the story of Hitman 1 is just kind of designed to get you to like feel 47 a little bit and like get to know him just a little bit, and then this kind of gives the story his backstory and stuff like that. So I guess just in summary, the plot of Hitman 2 is fine. Like it does the job. The backstory and stuff is okay. I mean, it's not, I don't like think about this when I'm laying in bed at night or anything like that, but it's fine. Whereas I thought the story in Hitman 1 was just proper noun soup, almost nonsense at times.
Yeah, it is very much the like minimum viable narrative that they needed in order to like it. What it does is it cues the genre, right? The story in Hitman 1 makes it very clear the genre of story that we're playing in.
Right.
And then once you get into Hitman 2, again, it's not great yet, but I think it is definitely more like interesting and engaging than the story in Hitman 1.
Right. And then, I mean, no spoilers for Hitman 3, but the story does get even more direct and more easy to connect with in Hitman 3. And therefore, I would say Hitman 3 has the best storytelling in any of the games. So it's kind of this, I mean, you really should be playing this game as part 2 of a trilogy. So it's like, you wouldn't just take the 2 towers all by itself and say, talk about the story in the 2 towers because it's part 2 of 3. And this is kind of the same way. Not that there's, again, the story in the whole trilogy is fine. It's decent, but I don't think about it that much. It's okay.
Yeah.
So, but let's move on to kind of like what the point is in the games. So we're going to give a brief rundown of all of the levels in Hitman 2, of which there are eight levels. And like we said, each level will probably take you between 1 and 2 hours to get through, especially on your first playthrough. So, well, I guess we'll start with just we have Hawke's Bay, New Zealand, which we talked about, which is a house on a beach at nighttime. All of these levels are absolutely beautiful, like the way that they look. Even the levels where you're inside the whole time are beautiful. And I think we'll talk about some of the like special ones that have like incredible things that happen in them visually. So we have Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. We have Miami, Florida, which is a racetrack and expo center. We have Santa Fortuna, Colombia, which is a kind of mansion and drug empire compound, and also kind of like a slum neighborhood. I don't know if I don't know if you call it. Yeah, we wouldn't call it a slum neighborhood. It's
like a remote village that is lorded over by like high power cartel members.
Yeah. So yeah, slums is the wrong word. It's just a village. We have Mumbai, India, where you're on the streets of Mumbai, and you are in a kind of partially constructed, large kind of skyscraper that is being used as a movie set, Bollywood set. We have kind of one of the things I love about the levels is how diverse these levels are. You're not in military compound A, military compound B. So you go from the streets of Mumbai to Whittleton Creek, Vermont, which is just a regular suburban neighborhood. Any suburban neighborhood you've ever been in, this is it, basically.
That's the one.
Yep. And then you go
cookouts, ponds,
yep,
oak trees,
all of it. Moles.
Moles.
Yep, that's suburbia. After that, you go to, and Jesus, I should have looked up how to pronounce this ahead of time. The Isle of Skyle? Sigale? You know how to say
I've always pronounced it scale.
Scale?
Like the scales of a fish, but with, I guess, a little bit more g in there.
Yeah, it's a Gaelic word, and if I have any weakness in my life, it's Gaelic pronunciation. So that is a kind of castle in the middle of an island in the middle of the sea, out UK ways.
It is, yeah. It is. Without getting too spoilery at this point, like I think the last two levels were maybe added after the fact. So like what happens on the Isle of Scale is narratively like a big climax.
Yeah.
And so it is this kind of like you are going to a location that means something to a secret society, and
right.
So it is this like wave crashed island in the middle of the ocean with like an old stone fortress on it that's been converted into a place where rich people hang out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it definitely feels like the belly of the beast, kind of. And then there are two DLC levels. One of them is a bank in New York City, which is often regarded to be one of the best levels. Scott just did a chef's kiss. I mean, we'll talk about it, but like Game Maker's Toolkit, for example, did a video just about this level. It's one of the crowning achievements of the series. And then the last level, which was DLC, also is a resort in the Maldives, which is another just beautiful, beautiful level.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Also, one of the few or potentially only levels that has sort of a progressively changing environment as you work through your objectives.
Yeah.
Something I would definitely like to see more of from IOI.
Yeah, definitely. And well, yeah, I mean, they're working on a James Bond game as we're recording this, and I mean, like James Bond at this point, I'm kind of over the movies and stuff like that, but I will 100% buy the James Bond game that this company makes, because they make some of the best levels in video games, and if you take this kind of formula we've been talking about with these locations we just talked about, and take it with James Bond, I'm sure it's going to be good. Like I'm probably more confident in this company making a good game than like most other game developers at this point.
Yeah, it could literally just feel like a licensed Hitman or a licensed James Bond version of Hitman, and I would be okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, with these levels, so we talked about what the 8 levels are and where they're set. Are there any differences that you've noticed between Hitman 1 and like how we talked about the levels in that episode and then in Hitman 2? Any differences in level design or anything like that you notice?
I think that's a really great question. I think that Hitman 1 and 3 probably have levels that I would call better standouts than most of what's in Hitman 2. But Hitman 2 probably has like the highest like baseline average of quality. Like, yeah, like you sent me that little like ranking site, and I tried to like place these levels on there, and I just like had a really hard time putting any level below like a B or a C, because they're all really good, and they're all like equally good. Like they're like none of them are like standouts as being weak, or anything like that. I think what they did in this game is that they didn't do a lot of they didn't reinvent a lot of stuff. I think they took some riskier moves in Hitman 3 than they did in Hitman 2, but what they did in Hitman 2 is they refined a lot of what they started doing in Hitman 1. So in my opinion, I think Miami is probably the Sapienza of this game. It is one of the only maps that has a really substantial non-looping time-based component.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's like a thing that there are things that unfold only once at specific times into your play, and if you want to do a thing that requires you to take action prior to that and you don't, then you've missed your opportunity. Whereas like in most maps, that's not the case. You can just sort of wait for that opportunity to come around again.
Right.
And that doesn't happen in Miami. The other thing is that Miami is one of the biggest maps, I think, and it is bisected in half. I think you mentioned it was a racetrack and expo center. So like the racetrack itself like cuts this map into 2 completely separate parts, which introduces some interesting challenges. I think there's some places where they didn't do that as well. I think Santa Fortuna feels a little bit more like 3 separate areas. So it's one of the levels that has 3 targets. And it feels a little bit more like 3 separate areas that don't interact with each other as much as I wished they would.
Right. Yep. I feel the same way.
But I think that like more than anything else, this game's mission stories feel satisfying.
Yeah.
Like way more so than Hitman 1, and I think that's saying something. Hitman 1 mission stories felt really satisfying, but there are a lot of mission stories that require a lot of steps, and so when you finally manage to take your target out, you feel like you earned it. You feel like you did the work, and
yeah.
even in the mission stories where like you can kind of start to tell where this is headed 4 or 5 steps away from the end, you're like, it's still when that moment comes and your target dies, you're like, that's the stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what it was all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that without doing any like real comparisons, I feel like a lot of the levels in Hitman 2 are bigger, like more sprawling than in Hitman 1. Like Miami is pretty big. The Isle of Scale is really, really big, like deceptively big.
It's dense and tall.
Yeah,
it's. I think it's got more levels, more vertical levels than almost any other map in all 3 games.
And it's got a lot of like different areas too, like a lot of different areas to go into. Santa Fortuna, like you said, it feels like it's 3 levels stitched together, so it's really big, sprawling, and
you spend a lot of time just like running. like just like sprinting from one end of the map to the other in that one, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's any difference in level design, I would say a lot of these levels just feel bigger. And then some of them are like they're big, but they feel very, very full of people. Like Miami and Mumbai, as the streets of Mumbai probably should be, are just packed with people. You're at a crowded race, like a IndyCar race in Miami, so it's packed full of people, or an F1 race. Sorry, oh no, we have to end the podcast. I don't know about race cars. The race car people are going to come after me.
We're going to get now. Just wait until we get the NASCAR people in here.
Well, yeah, I know it's not NASCAR, so
no, it's definitely not NASCAR.
But the streets of Mumbai are full of people, and the Isle of Scale level is a gathering of people. So there's lots and lots of NPCs there, and so without, I'm trying to think of the levels from Hitman 1, and I can't really think of ones that deal with like huge crowds like these do.
Marrakesh might be the only one that I can think of. Like, and we talked about how we thought that was kind of a missed opportunity mission story wise.
Yeah. Still,
but yeah, density of NPCs definitely steps up in this one.
Yeah, and then I mentioned the bank level, which is, I think, the ultimate, one of the ultimate like clockwork levels in here of manipulating NPC behavior, because you're inside of a building, and it's, I guess I've never been in behind the scenes in a huge bank in New York City, but it feels like a real place. And most of these places, well, I would say all of them, I assume the Isle of Scale is what that place would be like, but all of these feel like real places, rather than designed video game levels. But the level of design that goes into it that makes it feel at the same time as like these beautifully crafted levels, while also feeling exactly like a suburb in the US, or makes it feel exactly like being inside of an expo center in Miami. It's just chef kisses all the time for IOI.
Yeah, and I think one of the things they did there are some outside of the levels, there's some cool things that I think they did with this game that I'd love to talk about in a second. But within the levels, I think something that they really stepped up was sort of environmental wayfinding. So for example, when you first play the Miami mission, before you've unlocked any of the other starting points, you begin at the front gate, and you have a ticket. You got to kind of show your ticket and get in. And when you go through the front gates, the ground is painted with these like bright yellow, like pink and blue and yellow lines that are labeled like where they'll tell you to go, right? So if you want to go to like the vendors, there's a line that will take you there. And if you want to go to like the mechanic, the car garages, there's a line that will take you there. And if you want to go to the parking garage, there's a line that will take you there. And so like, even in these environments, I think we talked a little bit about last time, where like you can use your real world knowledge of what a place is like in order to interact with the level. Cause like we've all been in a hospital, so we know what the way people are supposed to behave in a hospital and roughly how a hospital is laid out. Maybe not everyone's been to a track, to a Formula One race, right? And so they do a good job of building maybe the less common experience locations in such a way that even if that's not a place you are familiar with, the game offers you signposting in order to find your way around and kind of quickly make sense of it and get your bearings.
Yeah, exactly. And like for that racetrack in particular, like if you go to a racetrack, they will have signs that will tell people where to go. So, I mean, it fits with like, oh no, what's that word? Like there's very little ludonarrative dissonance with that stuff too. It's not like you're going through a military compound that has a bunch of signs explaining like for a tourist where to go, if you're going to a racetrack, there would be stuff painted on the ground or something like that telling people where, this way to the bleachers, for example. So yeah, that stuff's really good. The bank is another level like that has signs that say like security deposit
Authorized
area.
personnel only.
Yeah, exactly. Or like down the stairs here to the security deposit boxes or something like that. And so I had a mission story where I needed to go to the security deposit boxes, and I was like, okay. Oh, there's a sign for it right there. Of course. Yeah. So, I mean, the level design in Hitman is something that every single person who talks about and reviews Hitman talks about, and it's just, I mean, it's a real accomplishment. And we talked about those kind of cutscenes as maybe a budget cut, those still frame like slideshow cutscenes instead of having like full, rendered cutscenes. They chose their money, or they spent their money in the right places. They really like put every effort into making these levels incredible.
Yeah, I'm kind of just now putting that together, but maybe that's what it was. Is they were just like, oh, all of these levels need to just be bigger and better than the first game. So let's find some efficiencies in our cutscenes.
Right. Yeah,
because it is. They are all big, and they all feel like more ambitious versions of things that they tested in Hitman 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when we do our episode on Hitman 3, then we're going to actually have a lot of different like types of levels to talk about, because they do shake it up in Hitman 3. But in Hitman 2, it's all, the pretty much the best, or like you said, at least a B or C version of a Hitman level. And in my opinion, I think that the New York level, the bank, the Isle of Scale, Miami, and parts of Mumbai sometimes. I'm kind of mixed on Mumbai, but some of it's really good. But those other three, New York, the bank, the Isle of Scale, and Miami, are all top level Hitman levels, in my opinion, if we're doing tier ranks. So
definitely.
You had briefly... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wanted to mention some of these other game modes that came in.
Yeah.
Is that where you were going to head to?
That was where I was going too.
Perfect. So I don't know how much you've gotten a chance to play these, but I'll start with the special assignments, because I think that this is something that they've continued to refine, especially with like the most recent DLC since Hitman 3, which was the sort of the 7 Deadly Sins seasonal content, I guess is what you'd call it. Mm-hmm. But it does that thing where they use a map that you already know, but they like give it a whole new coat of paint for a more kind of self-contained mission, right? And so when we did our Hitman 1 episode, we talked about the Patient Zero DLC, which is just a little 4-mission story arc that takes place in 4 of the levels maps from Hitman 1. In Hitman 2, there are also 4 what they call special missions, and I think it's been I don't go back and replay them very often, but I think that they are fairly self-contained. They are not it's not like 4 subsequent missions telling a little story arc like Patient Zero was, but there are alternate missions to play on Miami, Santa Fortuna, Mumbai, and Whittleton Creek that kind of use the same skeleton for the map, but they sort of shuffle things around, change the conditions that you're working with, change the NPCs that you're interacting with, and the targets and stuff, because they all have just sort of a little bit of a different story. I think, for example, in Mumbai, there's like, it's called Illusions of Illusions of Grandeur, and like some like magician has hired you to assassinate a competing magician or something like that. It's kind of silly. A new game mode they introduced with Hitman 2 that I really like, and we were talking about this a little bit before recording. I know I'll be curious to hear you talk a little bit more about why you're maybe less of a fan, is the Sniper Assassin mode, which to date they have not released any additional levels for. So there are only 3 Sniper Assassin maps, but the way the mode works is that rather than playing kind of a third-person camera behind 47 as he maneuvers through a level, there is what I would say is probably an equally complex level to the rest of them, but 47 is perched somewhere stationary with a sniper rifle. And each level, there's one in Austria, which is kind of at this big mansion where a wedding is happening. There's one in Singapore, which is kind of at this like docks, like industrial dock, where there's kind of like a hostage situation unfolding. And then one is in Siberia, which is sort of a military or a prison installation in which you've been tasked to assassinate some key people and potentially start a riot to cover your tracks or whatever. But it introduces some really interesting challenges in that, you know, how do you take out, in this case, each map has, you know, between probably 2 and 4 main targets, but then there are also like 12 to 15 like bodyguards. And if you really want to complete the mission, you got to get them too. And so the question becomes like, how do you take out, from a stationary like sniper nest, how do you take out 15 individuals and in a way that hides their body? Because if anybody discovers a dead body, then they'll raise the alarm, and you'll quickly start running out of time to get the thing done. And like I said, each one only it has like a hard cap of 15 minutes. So it's I love them because I think it's a lot of training. It's a lot of I've mentioned several times before, I love games where it's observation, and so like I've played so many of these several times just because I sit there and I watch the entire thing unfold, so that I know where everybody's going to be, and I can start building a strategy where like you start up the map and it's like, all right, within the first 5 seconds, I got to turn to the right and shoot this guy before he walks away from that pond and I can no longer hide him in there, or, you know, whatever. And that's like a kind of gameplay I find very satisfying. But I know you mentioned that you weren't the biggest fan.
Yeah. I'm so full disclosure, I tried the Austria mission, and I would say I tried it maybe 4 or 5 times. So I didn't spend hours learning this, and maybe I didn't spend enough time learning it. But one of the things I like the most about the regular levels in Hitman is how you're always moving and adjusting to what's happening. And if you fuck up, you can cover your tracks, or you can get away, or basically like that. And in the sniper missions, if you fuck up, then like you said, you're failing quickly. Like the timer is quickly running down. And so I just constantly got in this situation where I was like, I think I have a clear shot and no one can see it. Oh, never mind. Those 4 people saw it. So I guess I'm boned on this. I can't really cover up my mistake at all. Whereas in the regular levels, if someone sees you and you can just knock them out and hide their body and then change your disguise, and you're basically scot-free after that. So yeah, the sniper missions just seemed really punishing. But I do kind of like, I get what you're saying, and like we were talking before about how you can still use the same principles from the main levels to manipulate what the NPCs do. You know, if you shoot this object, then this will happen, and these people will react in a predictable way. And so that's how you're setting up all of these things. But if anyone who watched me play these levels on Twitch, the regular levels, for anyone who watched me knows that I make a ton of mistakes when I play. And so it just, you know, it's a level of precision and perfection that I just couldn't get on board with.
That totally makes sense. And you're very right about that. Like I have making a mistake causes me to hit pause and restart the entire level in Sniper Assassin way more often than it does in like regular gameplay modes.
Yeah, and I should say
it's just so hard to recover from.
Yeah, and I should say in the regular gameplay modes, I quick load all the time, as anyone who's watched me play on Twitch knows. Especially when I'm following a mission story, if I fuck it up, I almost always just reload and try again. So But yeah, I don't know. One thing we should have mentioned with the level design is this philosophy, because I the sniper thing got me thinking about this. This philosophy that the designers have that you should always be moving forward through the levels. So like most rooms that you go into will have two exits. So you enter in one way, and then that room will also have another door. So you feel like you're just always moving forward through the levels, and you spend some time hiding and observing and waiting for things to get into place, but you are always moving, and that to me is what Hitman feels like. And then the sniper missions, honestly, I felt pretty helpless, especially when I started to make mistakes.
Yeah, that's totally a fair criticism, and you're right. That was something I almost said earlier, is that like in a regular Hitman level, there's this thing where like you see a door that you can't go through, and you know you want to go through it, and so you go about finding the outfit that's going to let you go through it, but you still don't know what you're going to find on the other side of it, and so there's this sense of not only moving forward, but also like always going deeper, right? And like always going like deeper into the cave or deeper into the belly of the beast, and like you're leaving the realm of safety further and further behind the closer to your targets you get, and that definitely doesn't happen in Sniper Assassin.
Yeah,
right.
Yep. So like I know, like you said that you enjoy them, and I know a lot of other people have said that they enjoy the sniper missions. It's just not my thing. So I'm not going to say that it's like bad or that it's anything like that. It's just not my preferred way to play it. I'd rather just play the regular levels again.
Yeah, it's a very different thing, and I totally get that. The only other game mode I wanted to mention, and I don't have a lot to say about it because I unfortunately never got the chance to play it myself before it got shut down, but I've read a lot about it, and I really hope I've heard some discussion that they might bring it back into the game, and I really hope that's true. But that with Hitman 2, they introduced a multiplayer mode called Ghost Mode, which like I said, they have since shut down. But the way that it worked is that you would compete against one-on-one against another assassin on the same map with the same target and assassination conditions, and you were not actually on the same instance of the map together.
Uh-huh.
You were each like in your own versions of it, but like if you and I were playing against each other, I would be able to see like a ghost in my world that represented where you were and what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I could see what your strategy was, and I could plan accordingly, and you'd be able to see what I was doing, and you'd always be able to like check in on their progress. I think you might be even be able to like look at the map and see where they are, and like see how many of their targets they've eliminated and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that was just like, this is such a cool... I have often fantasized about a multiplayer mode of this game that is kind of co-op. I think it'd be super fun to like get some really complicated, like really complex maps, and have like targets that require two assassins to work together to assassinate.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not that. This is kind of more of a competitive thing, and I always thought it would be cool to like be working on your own assassination and also be able to see like the ghost of the other person who's also doing it in real time.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool because well, you and I kind of talked about our play style in the game, and we probably have not super different, but we do approach challenges in the game in a different way. So it would be kind of cool to see like, oh, what the fuck is he doing? Like, what's his strategy here? That would be pretty cool.
Right, and then you get like mind games too, where I start like going like down a hallway that doesn't mean anything just because I think you might follow me.
Yeah.
Right? You start trying to fake out your opponent.
Yeah, like you actually you actually know that room is full of guards, and you're just trying to lead me into something like that, or that
exactly
could be interesting. So
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can understand why it was an experiment that didn't play out the way they had originally intended, but I do hope that they bring back I hope they didn't trash it.
Yeah.
I hope they took it back to the workshop and are gonna try to release something similar to it again, because I think there's so much about this kind of game that lends itself to some interesting multiplayer opportunities.
You just gave me an idea, speaking of them doing multiplayer, and I think that so many people, especially of our generation, associate James Bond games with multiplayer. So if they're making a James Bond game, I wonder if that's going to have a more dedicated multiplayer component to it. So maybe they would kind of iterate on something like this, or even just have PvP. PvP in here doesn't. I don't know about that, but
I was gonna say I don't know. I don't know. I don't necessarily definitely expect the James Bond games to be built on like an engine that feels similar to Hitman, but I also don't discount it as a possibility.
Yeah.
And I have a really hard time imagining, like, the reason that we think of that gamers like you and I think of James Bond video games as primarily a multiplayer experience. I just can't imagine how IOI would bring that to life.
Especially if they're gonna, if it is like you said, like a James Bond, reskin of the Hitman engine. PvP would not be super interesting.
To big head mode.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the 47 in DK mode would be pretty funny, but okay. So let's take a little break. We're going to listen to some Hitman music. When we come back, we're going to give our final thoughts in summary before the spoiler section. All right, and we're back. So let's give our final thoughts about Hitman 2. Do we recommend it, if that's not abundantly clear at this point? So, Scott, guest always goes first. What do you think?
Obviously. I recommend it. As I mentioned before, I think I had a really hard time, even just in my own personal hypothetical scenario, ranking any of these levels lower than a C. I think it's got the highest like baseline average of level design quality. I think they took some interesting risks, as we just discussed with Ghost Mode. Not all of them panned out, but it really does. It is an attempt to be more ambitious with everything that they learned worked in Hitman 1. And then I also think it is the joiner between Hitman 1, which has kind of an inconsequential story but really killer gameplay, and Hitman 3, which we will eventually discuss, but at a high level, I think, in ways the first two don't, allow the gameplay to bend a little bit more in favor of the narrative. And so Hitman 2 kind of is the thing that bridges those two and has like a good, satisfying blend of both.
Yeah. Yeah.
And certainly don't play Hitman 1 or Hitman 3 without playing all three of them. So if I'm going to recommend any of them, I'm also going to recommend this one.
Yeah. I was just going to say that. I think that if you're only going to play one of the Hitman games, I think Hitman 2 is the one you should play, because I think it has the best mix of like consistent level quality, some top level levels, and a story that's easy to follow, like with identifiable characters other than 47. But like you said, these are part of a trilogy, and I really think, like, I really have a hard time imagining someone who's like, I fucking love Hitman 2 and I hate Hitman 1. I don't really see that as possible. Hitman 3 is different, and I know people who are big fans of Hitman 1 and 2 and are kind of lukewarm on Hitman 3. I still like it a lot. We'll get into that when we eventually close our personal Hitman trilogy. But If you are a fan of immersive sims, even though I don't, we've been through this. If you're a fan of immersive sims, games that reward your creativity, or if you like stealth games and just want to see like a different take on the stealth genre, Hitman 2 is, I think, the best. I mean, I can't think of a stealth game that I like more than Hitman 2 at this point.
If you're a fan of classic red tie suits, if you're a fan of blank canvas but also unforgettable tall bald white men,
yep. If you're a fan of
all of these things,
barcode tattoos,
exactly,
homing briefcases.
If you're just a fan of murder,
yeah. If you're a fan of murder, yeah.
It's just got a little bit of something for
something for everybody. That's right. So yeah, this is a classic trilogy. I can see a like demographic of people who play games who just don't like the gameplay because it is not like we said, you have to meet this game on its terms. But once you do, it's almost endlessly rewarding. And I think I said this on the other episode. If IOI just decided, like, we're going to make this James Bond game, and then we're just going to put out Hitman levels for the Hitman 3 engine forever, I would get all of them and just play them as long as they keep making new levels.
Oh, you may not have to wait that long. I actually believe that like I said, they just wrapped up their Seven Deadly Sins DLC, which was not any new levels, but it was a lot of new missions that reskinned old levels. But in announcing their new 2022 roadmap, I think that they are teasing or suggesting that new levels and missions are coming this year.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
As DLC. So like, I'm stoked for that.
I'm normally a like wait for sale before I buy games type of person, but Hitman DLC is automatic day one. I gotta play it. So yeah, yep. Very cool.
Agreed.
All right, so a little bit of housekeeping before we move into spoiler talk. I like how we said we were gonna, we don't have to explain the game mechanics, so this is going to be a shorter episode, and we're up on almost 2 hours already. But before we get into spoilers, I want to say if you're going to tap out now, because we're going to talk about the levels in some more detail and how the story goes. So if you want to tap out now and play the game, we both definitely recommend you do that. Come back to this episode anytime. We're not going anywhere. So if you want to support this show, the best thing to do is to subscribe and leave ratings and reviews if you can on platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Podcast Addict and Good Pods and any others that allow you to leave a rating and get us into the
Pod
old
Planet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I made that up, but it sounded like a thing.
It could be, or it will be. Maybe you just spoke it into existence. Help inject us into the old algorithm there. And tell your friends about the show. And social media for this podcast links will be in the episode description, but it's at Tales from the Backlog on Instagram and Facebook, and on Twitter at TFTBLpod. But don't try to remember those, just click the links in the episode description.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Yes, that's why I picked it for tongue rolling. Gross. Anyway, I also do a podcast called A Top 3 Podcast, where each episode my buddies and I pick a topic and we list our top threes and discuss, and it's a good time. Scott was on an episode of that show talking about top 3 video games of the 2010s decade, and that was a good time. And spoiler alert, we talk about Hitman. So that was a good time.
That was the genesis of this trilogy that we're doing here.
Yeah, exactly. And Scott and I did an episode about the 2016 Hitman game, Hitman 1, one more time. That was episode 3 of Tales from the Backlog. So go listen to that if you haven't already. And Scott, you want to point people to social media or anything like that, or anything you got going on?
You should definitely check out the Top 3 Podcast and the past episodes of Tales from the Backlog.
Okay.
I don't have anything personal to plug, but I appreciate the opportunity.
Fantastic. Good man. All right, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, it is spoiler time. And we're back, and let's talk about spoilers for Hitman 2. So we're going to get the story out of the way first. The story, plot details are spoilable, but this is not why we're here, really. So in the story, you learn a little bit about 47's backstory, and 47 was raised in some kind of secret orphanage that raises assassins. Like, when I was watching the cutscene, I was like, oh, this is like Queen's Gambit, but they raise assassins. Is that right?
I think that's kind of right. I haven't seen Queen's Gambit, but I think it's kind of like he was an orphan / science experiment, and then was, due to some specific qualities he had, recruited as an assassin.
Okay.
So like it wasn't like a regular orphan. Like it was an ethically questionable orphan situation to begin with.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't think that was like a direct pipeline into assassinship.
Okay. Like the reason I thought that is because the shadow client turns out to be Lucas Gray, who was in the orphanage with 47, and he's also an assassin. So I was like, oh, okay, is this are they just raising assassins here at this place?
He's not an ICA assassin, and I apologize if any of this ends up being stuff that is revealed in Hitman 3 rather than Hitman 2. But they were in the orphanage together, and the difference between 47 and Lucas Gray is that Lucas Gray remembers what happened to them,
right,
and 47 does not.
And so
I don't think that he was ever. I don't think he was ever like an ICA assassin, but he is, and he's like a self-trained assassin.
Okay.
Because he knows who done him wrong and who he wants to get revenge on, whereas 47 just like doesn't have any of that.
Right,
memory.
and that's another kind of difference they highlight between 47 and Gray, is that 47 is basically emotionless and has no memories of this, and Lucas Gray remembers it, and therefore he is angry and he's on the warpath, basically. So
yeah,
and then you learn kind of like their backstory. They did some kind of cut their hand blood oath when they were kids, and that's revealed in one of the cutscenes. So you do learn about this, and then 47 is working with Lucas Gray throughout the rest of the game, and to go after the Constant. So yeah, and then the other part of 47's backstory is that you learn that he's responsible for Diana's death, or Diana's parents' death, which I think they showed in Hitman 1, that her parents died in a car bomb explosion, but in Hitman 2 they revealed that 47 was the one who did it. Yeah,
there's this cutscene sequence where she's in the cemetery or something, visiting when they reveal that, which I think is an interesting thing, because between Diana, who you don't know a lot about, but you arguably know more about than as a person than 47, because his whole thing is just sort of like blank memory. I think they're, up until the moment that is revealed, their entire relationship is just based on kind of like unquestioning trust of one another.
Right.
And so what is interesting is the way that they continue to explore that through the rest of Hitman 2 and into Hitman 3, once that information is revealed, not just to the audience, but also to Diana.
Right.
That is something, right? That is something that happens in Hitman 2, is that, like, Diana finds out that 47, this assassin she hand-selected and truly believes in, was the assassin responsible for the death of her parents.
Yeah. I actually, that might be in Hitman 3, but, like, it's not a big deal, because as soon as you find out that 47 was the one who did it, I mean, you know she's going to find out sometime. So it's not like that's a big spoiler. It's just like it's an inevitable thing that's going to happen at some point. Mm-hmm. She's going to find out. So this is part of 47's backstory that he's learning throughout the game. And, like, I don't know, he's not really panicked about her finding out. Like, and that's something that is part of, like, a big part of the story in Hitman 3 is this storyline. And so, I don't really have a lot else to say about 47's backstory. They just kind of give him a backstory in this game.
Yeah, and we'll get into more detail in the Hitman 3 episode, but, like, I would say this installment is about 47 kind of figuring out what his relationship to Lucas Gray is, and what his relationship is to Providence, and why what emotional stakes he should be feeling about the Constant.
Yeah.
Whereas Hitman 3 really digs a little bit more deeper into his relationship with Diana as a result of all of this information coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I guess, the story, at least in sort of the second half of Hitman 2, is sort of all about learning about who the Constant is and what kind of power he has, and what sort of, to be super metaphorical, what sort of chess pieces are on the board for all the parties in play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then continually discovering, everybody who's playing constantly has a card up their sleeve that they're waiting for the right moment to play.
Yeah, exactly. And this kind of starts this kind of chain reaction of, like, secret plans and secret backup plans and secret backup plans to the backup plans that all of the power players have throughout basically this and Hitman 3. So yeah.
At a certain point, every cinematic starts to feel like Party A thinks they got Party B, but Party B's like, psych, you didn't get me.
Yeah, but then Party A
and then the next one's like, Party A's like, psych, we did get you.
Yeah, exactly. Party A is like, actually, that was all a fake, and we get into that kind of thing. So the other main story thing from Hitman 2 is that throughout the game, you're looking for the Shadow Client. You find out it's Lucas Gray. And then he starts to work with you, and then you're looking for the Constant. So in one of the levels, you kill an ex-Providence like chairperson or something like that.
Are you talking about Whittleton Creek?
Yeah, when you kill Janus.
He was the former leader of Providence.
Yeah, and so
or the former Constant. I think he was the former Constant.
Okay, so yeah, you kill him. You're trying to find the Constant and find where Providence is meeting. So you kill him, and then they track the coffin to the Isle of Scale, and that's where you kidnap the Constant. And we'll talk about that kind of thing later when we talk about the level in detail. But you kidnap the Constant, and then a couple levels later, the Constant escapes. Basically, 47's busy doing his assassinations, and while you're gone, you come back and, oh shit, the Constant's gone. Oops. And then that's your cliffhanger for Hitman 3.
Yeah. And I'll say, like, I love the voice acting and the characterization of the people who play 47 and Diana. But I think the casting for Lucas Gray and the Constant were brilliant.
Yeah.
Arthur Edwards, who's the name of the Constant in this game, is just one of the most, like, viscerally upsetting characters to listen to speak.
Yeah. His voice acting is incredible.
He just talks like this.
Yeah.
He's like the character from the Brave Little Toaster, which is a weird deep cut I just thought of. I can't remember his name. the lamp or something. I don't know, but yeah, he's super creepy and you know, if in a live action version, I realize they made a live action Hitman movie and I didn't see it, but like that character could easily be played by oh my god, I'm drawing a blank on his name. He played totally drawing a blank on his name.
Oh well. Yeah, that voice actor is so, you're right. It's viscerally upsetting is a good way to describe the way he's voiced, because he's, you know, if you're at all invested in this, like, yes, we got you, motherfucker, and he's just so calm and collected, and his voice carries this like this tone of like, you fucked up big time. I am gonna be okay. Like, you guys think you have me, but you are bringing yourself to ruin here. And he carries that all just in the tone of his voice and the way he does it. It's really good.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I don't have anything else to say about the story here. I want to start talking about the levels. So do you have anything else about the story?
I don't think so. I think my strongest feelings about the story we covered before the spoiler wall, which is that it does the work of sort of transitioning between Hitman 1 and 2, where I feel like, you know, in Hitman 1 it was all about the gameplay and not at all about the story. And then in Hitman 3 it's like almost the opposite. I don't want to say it's not all about the gameplay, but like the gameplay serves the story, whereas like in Hitman 1 the story serves the gameplay.
Yeah.
And so Hitman 2 is just sort of that perfect blend of both.
Okay. All right, then let's get into the levels. And so we'll talk about, I am going to talk about my mission stories where I got my kills, and then escapes and anything else notable. And Scott, since you have a lot more experience with it, and if you have any like suit-only silent assassin stories for the levels, let's hear those. So the first level is Hawke's Bay in New Zealand. Which we said is a house on the beach at nighttime. Very cool, like visually to see. So I actually didn't write down the name of the target here, but you're trying to kill a woman. And this one's weird because this is something that I guess this is the only good part about the tutorialization, of this level, is that when you get there, there's no one there. And you have a little bit of time to just explore the house and kind of get your bearings. But then as soon as you do the mission critical thing, which is checking out the laptop, a bunch of people show up. The target shows up, her boyfriend, and then, 25 guards with them. So that is a unique thing about the level. So I guess it does get some credit in that way as a tutorial mission, but I think it's really hard. So the first time I played it, I didn't do anything creative. I just maybe I just shot her in the head, and just ran away, and then I think your only point of escape is with the boat in this. Am I right?
I think so. I think you can eventually unlock one a little bit closer, so you don't have to go quite so far down the path, but I forget what it is. I don't know if it's another boat or if there's a scuba gear and you just disappear into the ocean, but yeah, the premise is that you ride up on this beach in New Zealand, and I just looked up the target's name is Alma Reynolds.
Okay.
Reynard. But you roll up in this little inflatable skiff, a quarter mile up the beach from this house, and the beach is kind of covered with these dunes and these grasses, and so once you transition into the second half, the second act, right? After everybody shows up and you complete your objective, the escape is what's difficult, because you have to get back to the skiff by using these tall grasses as cover and avoiding all of the guards that are patrolling the beach, in order to get out without a trace. But I think there's one other exit that you can unlock. I just can't remember exactly what it is.
Okay. And when you're going through the beach trying to get back to the boat, there's one thing they set up where there's a pickup truck with a bunch of gas cans or something, and if you shoot it, it causes an explosion, and all the guards will run over to it, so you can just kind of mosey over to the boat. But Yeah. So, you have anything, any specific experience you want to share from this level?
I know we talked about how it's kind of it's not the best tutorial level if it's the first tutorial level you play.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does do a pretty good job of refreshing some key things if you have already played Hitman 1. All of that said, I will say that this is a mission that I go back and I play a lot, just because I find the map itself so interesting. It's not very big. I mean, the house itself is not very big.
Right.
The beach is a fairly sizable place, and that's largely just your means of egress. But there's something I find. God, maybe this reveals something like weird and perverse about me. But there's like something I find so interesting about having to like sneak around a house at night while like some people are sleeping, but also there's guard patrols.
Mm-hmm.
And like get in and out without being detected. And so like this is one of the maps that there are no mission stories on this map.
Right.
Like you literally, there are a number of different ways to take out your target, but there are no actual mission stories. But like this is a map I have gone to on multiple occasions to see if I can like kill every single NPC on the map.
Okay.
Because it just doesn't seem like there are very many.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been able to do it. They just keep coming for some reason. But yeah, I think it's not impressive in the way that many other levels of this game are, but it is tightly designed.
Yeah.
It's like small and compact, and it gets you through a couple of key things pretty quickly and in a very satisfying way. And I also there's this moment where you suddenly realize the secret room in the house,
mm-hmm.
Which I think is very cool. There's just something satisfying about being like, oh, like let me flip this painting, and all of a sudden the secret door opens, and there's an armory and the laptop dongle and all the shit that you're actually there for.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point. The level is really compact, and there's a lot of like you said, there's no mission stories, but there are a lot of ways to like set up creative kills in the level. So I tried to set one up where you can go up on the roof and poison the ventilation system that goes down into that panic room, and then if you cause a ruckus, the target will go into the panic room. And I think I just did those out of order. Like I should have sent her to the panic room first and then poisoned the ventilation, but I did it backwards. And then there's a part where she and her boyfriend go into the bathroom. Her boyfriend takes a shower. That's a good opportunity for a kill. But
because it steams up the glass
right.
of the shower, so he can't see her when she's like 3 feet away brushing her teeth.
Exactly. And I killed the boyfriend, and I was trying to get her to go into the panic room by like making her see the body, but she would not follow my breadcrumb trail, and she just went to bed. And I set off the alarm clock in the room, and she wouldn't wake up, so I just shuriken her in the face while she was asleep. I was at that point, I was like, I've tried a bunch of creative stuff, and she just won't wake up, so shuriken.
Hey, at the end of the day, they don't ask how, they ask how many.
Exactly. So, yeah, that was my experience this both playthroughs.
Yeah, there are a couple of really good ones. Like, I really like the fact that you can go up on the roof and poison the ventilation system. There is I forget exactly how all the pieces fit together, but there is, in the bedroom, there's like a glass of whiskey on the counter that you can poison. But I think her boyfriend drinks out of it, so I think it might be a way to get him out of the room so you can take her out, and then probably just like hide her in the chest or something. There's also like a cannabis cigarette, as the game calls it,
right.
That you can find and lure them out onto the balcony or something like that. I think the fact that you can adjust that level has a lot of environmental stuff. So like there's all kinds of stuff in the kitchen that you can poison.
Right. Yeah.
There is there are all kinds of like TVs and stereos and stuff you can turn on. the entire second level of the house has window shades.
Yeah.
Like it's this very like kind of like modern like style house with that's like a lot of glass and square corners and stuff like that. And one of the critical parts to being able to successfully assassinate your target in her bedroom is to close those shades, because otherwise guards will patrol around the balcony outside and will be able to see into the room.
Right. Yep.
And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is that there is one spot on the house where like it is fairly obvious access into her bedroom through a window, and it enters into her bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's just like almost like they're just trying to fuck with you. There is a rubber duck on the ground just inside the window.
Yeah.
So the first time that you try to sneak into the house through that window, you're going to get a squeak, and it's going to like draw attention from anybody who's on the second floor.
I think that's what happened when I went in to kill the boyfriend. I went in, it squeaked, he turned around, and I was like, oh shit. And I was, I always carry some kind of wrench or something like that. Like I always just hoover up items. And so he was like, who's there? And I immediately just wrenched to the face. So.
Are you sure it wasn't a fish?
Well, yeah, I didn't get the fish yet. So where I did get the fish is on the next level, which is in Miami. So yes. In Miami, you have two targets, Robert and Sierra Knox. Robert is kind of showing off.
Father and daughter.
Yeah. Robert's showing off his stuff in the expo center, which we mentioned. And then Sierra Knox is the one that Scott mentioned, where she is in a race car. She's in a race for the first, 15 minutes of the level, maybe 10 minutes, something like that.
Maybe 10. Yeah. It's not a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's some, but it's not a lot. Like if you're trying to get something done before that race ends, you don't have a ton of time to do it.
Yeah. And then after the race is over, she will, she doesn't just race forever. She finishes the race. She might win. She might not win. And then afterwards, she'll go hang out in this like kind of party lounge area outside. And there's ways to get her into a hotel from what I can tell and stuff like that. But anyway, so my mission stories, the first time I played, the first time with Sierra, I always kill Sierra first. I kind of was just wandering around and she finished the race while I was doing that. So I went in the after party area and did a bunch of manipulation of guards and servants to basically choke them out. And then when she was alone, actually, I think she saw me and started to run down the stairs, and I just like quick shot her in the back of the head or something like that, and then had to get out as a dead body rolls down the stairs in this place.
Move along.
Yeah,
nothing to see here.
Exactly. And then well, I guess we'll start with Sierra. So what do you like to do to take out Sierra?
I have taken Sierra out in just about every way I can possibly think of. I think my two favorites are to just straight up take her out while she's racing. There are a couple of ways to do this, but you can. My favorite way is to. I've played the level enough that I now have a couple of like agency stashes that I can put on the map, and so I'll usually stash a good sniper rifle somewhere, and then I will take the sniper rifle up to one of those little bridges that crosses the racetrack around the finish line,
right?
And if you can get up there in time without anybody seeing you, and you can get your sniper rifle out, you can actually like aim down the track, and as they come around the corner, you can just shoot her car, and it will just like explode.
Nice.
And she'll be done. The other thing, the other way I like to do it is so by default, if you don't interfere at all with the race, by default Sierra Knox comes in second.
Okay.
So if you what you can do, though, is you can sabotage the guy who comes in first, either in exactly the same way I just described, where you can kind of like take him out of the race mid-race with a sniper rifle or by throwing an explosive onto the track or something. Or you can go. I think there's a mission story where you can sneak into his garage and like pose as part of his pit crew and sabotage his car or something.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, there are a couple of different ways to rig the race so that Sierra Knox does come in first, which will result in her taking the top podium spot in the post race like award ceremony.
Right. Yeah.
And if you can get her to do that, then while she's like migrating from the finish line to the podium, you can get an outfit as like a mechanic, sneak into a place where there's it's the like pyrotechnics that have been rigged up,
right.
like the flame cannons or whatever,
mm-hmm.
and you can just like throw the gas valve wide open so that when she goes up to claim her first prize, the fire goes and way too much fire comes out and she just gets cooked right on the podium in front of everybody.
That's I feel like Miami has a ton of those things. Like I feel like it has more than some of the other levels do.
Oh yeah.
My other kill on Sierra that I did also is part when she's racing. So there's a mission story where 47 can impersonate a pit crew member, and again, highly technical skills that take like a lifetime of practice to be on a professional pit crew.
No, you need me to change this carburetor? I can do that.
Yeah, or it's like literally like you need me to change a tire in 2 seconds. Yeah, sure, got it. So you grab a wrench, a pneumatic wrench, and you are on the pit crew, and you basically sabotage a wheel when she comes in for a pit stop, and then the car crashes and explodes right after that. So, I'm
always a big fan of the methods that make it look like an accident.
Yeah,
that no one that cannot be traced back to 47 at all.
Yeah, exactly. And so. This one's cool because you get the comedy of 47 doing something that would take a lifetime of skill and experience to do, and also it's very satisfying because if you pay attention to the mission briefing, Sierra and Robert Knox are horrible people, and so
they're the worst.
She takes off in her race car and just immediately crashes and explodes.
Yeah. Yeah, Robert, I mean, just for the background, like Robert Knox is like, he's kind of like a Tony Stark type character. He's the president of Kronstadt Industries, which ends up playing a little bit more of a role later in the series, but is like also not just like, they're not just a racing company, they're like a weapons manufacturer and like a tech, like a dark, sinister tech company and stuff. And so he's just kind of like Tony Stark, but like evil
Tony Stark.
And then which is saying something because Tony Stark is literally a weapons contractor when we first meet him.
Right.
But then like Sierra Knox is basically just like the trust fund daughter of that kind of guy. Like she's just like insufferable. Every time I interact with her, I think part of the reason I like taking the routes where I don't have to actually interact with her in order to kill her is because every time I interact with her, I have to put a lot of effort into not just shooting her in the face before the opportunity presents itself.
Right.
Because I'm just like, I don't want to listen to you talk anymore. You're the worst.
Yeah, exactly. And so the other target, like we said, is Robert Knox, and he spends most of his time or all of his time in this big expo center. And he's kind of showing off his inventions. So the first time I played, there's a mission story where he has this exhibition of this new, prototype car that's on exhibit. And so you can basically fuck with it so that when he's like checking out the engine or he's checking out something behind the car, and you can sabotage it in a way where you're the technician and he tells you, all right, hit the ignition. And when you do, it just explodes and kills him. And that was super satisfying. Very cool because you're in this room full of people, but it's seen as an accident. It's one of those things where it's not, people don't immediately pin it on you, or people don't ever pin it on you.
It's an experimental car.
Yeah.
It could happen to anybody.
It's bound to happen sometime. So, what do you got for Robert Knox before I give my other mission story?
There are a couple of different ways to get him in the expo center. I think my favorite, and I I did read through your notes, and I apologize if this is what you're about to say.
Oh, it's
but,
okay.
The one where there so. Well, again, so like we were talking about, he's also kind of like a weapons contractor, and so one of the exhibits that you can kind of encounter him in is where he's demonstrating. I think you have to impersonate the person that he is trying to sell this idea to.
Yeah, it's called
or something like that.
Yeah, he's called the game even calls him the military money man that you are impersonating.
That's very on the nose.
Yeah.
So if you can get this disguise and you can get in and find him, he'll take you to this, like, I think it's like on one of the higher floors of the expo center. There's a room where they are demoing these like autonomous like bipedal, like humanoid, like war machines.
Yeah,
right?
and they're like military
literally,
androids.
Like if Iron Man was a robot,
Yeah, exactly.
and not a suit that a human was wearing. And he's demonstrating its firearm capability, which is a system that involves showing the computer a photo of the target, and then the robot will then autonomously go and take out the target. And I think there are a number of different ways to acquire a photograph of Robert Knox, but if you can do that while you're dressed as that guy, you can feed that into the robot. And he does this thing where he stands at the end of the gun range all like cocky because he's like, it's not my photo. They're not going to shoot me. They're going to shoot these dummies behind me.
Yeah.
And then they do shoot him because you fed him his picture. And then you just go like, you just like whistle your way out while the rest of the texts are like, oh no, there was a malfunction.
Yeah, exactly. And what's cool about that picture thing is this is one of those things where like your knowledge of an expo center helps you in the mission because you need a picture of him. And so like when I was playing this, I was streaming it, and one of my people in the chat was like, hey, maybe there's a pamphlet with his face on it in the lobby. And so I went down and I was like, oh yeah, of course, this is his expo. He's obviously going to be showing off like he's on the cover of Time magazine or some bullshit. And so you just go grab that magazine cover and give it to the android and take him out that way.
Isn't it like literally on one of those little like rotating magazine things?
Yeah, but it's just all full of the same magazine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one magazine. But I'm pretty sure that you can also like steal his like lanyard or his company ID card or like something like that to also get his photo in there too.
Yeah, probably. But I just,
I wonder if, and we'll talk about this more in Hitman 3 where they introduced the actual camera, but I wonder if you can get, if retroactively you can take a photo of him and use that.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I've never tried that before.
That could be, next time to play Miami, that's something to try.
Yeah. We'll try that and then we'll report on it in our Hitman 3 episode.
Right. All right. So next up after Miami is Santa Fortuna in Colombia. And this one has 3 targets, Jorge Franco, Andrea Martinez, and Rico Delgado. Jorge is a he's in charge of the drug operation here. And Andrea and Rico are just kind of like hanging out in their respective parts. Like Rico is in the kind of mansion compound area, and Andrea is over in the village area. In her kind of outpost here, and there's some like I don't want to.
It's very much like there's like the charismatic leader guy, mm-hmm. like the business like woman, and the drug guy.
Yeah,
like the old drug expert.
Right.
Like that's like the archetypes that these 3 people fill.
Yeah, and I don't really want to get into it too deeply, but there is some interesting, like if you care about the story of like these individual targets, there is some interesting like kind of character like backstory infighting between some of these characters here, and it feeds into some of the mission stories. So there is that. But let's see. So let's start with Jorge. Jorge's the drug guy. He's out in like the jungle area of this. We said this level is almost like 3 levels put together. So the first one, there's a mission story where there was a kind of shipment of circuit boards that was lost in the jungle, and he needs it for his cocaine machine or something like that. And
Right, because that's what you do, is you take a bunch of plants and you chop them up, and then you put them into a machine, and then they spit out a brick of cocaine.
exactly. It's as simple as that. So
That's just science.
yeah, you can't argue with science. So you need to go find these circuit boards, and you bring one to him and, replace the circuit board in his machine. And then while he's inspecting the machine, I think I maybe went outside and just shot him through the window or something like that. There's a bunch of guards in that room, so I couldn't find a way to get a more entertaining kind of takedown, but it was fun.
If I can help you here, I don't. I think you just didn't wait long enough.
Maybe,
because I believe what actually happens at the end of that scene, because this is the assassination I was gonna say. This is one of those ones where like the mission story ends pretty early. Like I think in Hitman 2, a lot of the mission stories, they get you close to the target, but then they end and they leave it to you to figure out exactly how to finish the job.
Yeah.
Whereas in Hitman 1, I think the mission stories took you all the way up to the moment of assassination a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this might be one of the ones where like it ends and then you kind of have to be like, well, what do I do now? But if you hang out in that room long enough, he basically fires everyone.
Oh.
Because now that the machine is working, he doesn't need them working for him.
Oh, okay.
So he's like, none of you have jobs anymore, get out. And so they all leave, and then you can like grab him and you can like shove him into the machine.
Yeah, and that's what I thought.
And like, so he basically gets like shredded up.
That's what I thought I was going to be able to do, but I was like, I can't do this with all these people in the room. So yeah, I probably just didn't wait long enough. You're right.
Yeah. That's honestly the only one I can remember for him, though.
Okay. My other one, my other time I killed him, so I should say now, after the Miami mission, I was awarded with a fish item. You get item rewards, and one of them was just a big old fish. And so I took this on every mission with me, my second playthrough, and it became my weapon of choice. So, I don't think...
And you were henceforth known as the Wet Bandit.
Yeah. And my challenge mode entitled Fish Only Smelly Assassin. So, and this is not a mission story. This is just one of those things that you said, like you overhear people talking about, and it kind of gives you a clue. So you overhear how this guy, Jorge, is obsessed with picking these poisonous plants from this cliffside. And so you need to find a key to the botany lab. I spent legitimately an hour looking for the lab when it was actually, right next to where I started. And then you go into the lab and you can sabotage his plant samples, which makes him go back up to the cliffside to look for more. And I got him to that point, and I thought I was going to be able to kick him off of the cliff, but that doesn't end up happening. So what actually did happen was I just, quickly and stealthily took his guards down, and then he panicked and he was like, "Oh no, guards, guards!" And I just smacked him in the face with the fish and snapped his neck when he was unconscious. And that kind of, if I didn't have a special mission kill for these mission story kills, it was always smack him with the fish, snap their neck when they're unconscious.
Snap the neck.
Yep. So that was how I took him out.
You don't mess with perfection.
Yeah, exactly. The fish works, and that fish is extremely well traveled now. It's been to most continents at this point.
More than me. More continents than me.
Yeah.
The real human Scott.
Me too, yeah. So yeah, that's Jorge.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
And that was cool because it wasn't a mission story with map markers telling me where to go. As far as I know, it was...
That's what I was just going to say, is I feel like that map, and maybe a lot of the maps in Hitman 2, they have a lot of non-mission story ways to kill people that still require a long chain of very specific actions.
Yeah. Actually...
Right? Like, you have to kind of do everything in the right order to build up to that moment, and it's not a mission story.
Yeah, okay, so I'm remembering it now. They do give you map markers... I think they give you map markers once you get into the botany lab and you destroy the sample, and then they say go up to the cliffside or something like that. But they don't give you a map marker for the botany lab, so you do need to find that by yourself. So yeah, that was cool. And the next target is we'll talk about Andrea. She has a mission story which I did both times to get close to her, because she's in this house with a bunch of guards and a bunch of enforcers that see through your disguise. So she has a mission story where there's a love letter from one of the other target's brothers, and you basically deliver this love letter. She hates it, so she goes out on the balcony overlooking a river. And my first time I pushed her over the railing into the river. The second time I gave her the old fish smack. Yeah. So both times I did kind of the same mission story, but the second time I, obviously fish.
That's funny. Fish slap. That's great. She has this, I think one of the things, I'm always fuzzy on this, and I'll talk about this. I can talk about this in a minute if you want, but I am fuzziest on the mission stories for this map because it is, as we've talked about before, it feels like 3 levels stitched together, and so I feel like more than any of the mission stories, this level was probably the one that I remember most as being a very fun Silent Assassin suit only run.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that a lot of that is because of the ways in which I think it's a little bit weaker of a tightly designed level.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the mission stories I do remember liking is that one of her jobs in this organization on this map is that she's overseeing the construction of some facility on one end of the map, and the people. So again, this is like a cartel that is sort of exploiting this remote village in Colombia, and which is serving as their kind of like cartel headquarters, and so she's enlisted, contracted, I don't know, maybe probably not paying them what they should be paying them, local construction workers to help them build a facility on one end of this map, right? And the local team that is supposed to be doing this construction has, I forget, discovered something or is under it has it believes the site in which this construction project is supposed to happen is some sort of burial ground or some sort of sacred site or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And so they say they're not going to do the construction until there's a swami or some sort of religious leader out in the woods. And unless he comes down and blesses the site or cleanses the site, they're not going to do the construction.
Right.
And so you got to go out and you got to get this guy's costume or disguise, which has its own series of challenges because there are other people out there doing ayahuasca or whatever he's feeding them. But if you can get his suit, you can bring it back and use it to kind of perform this little ritual, and then people will start up the construction machines, at which point, if you find the right spot, you can, I forget exactly what it is, but it's either releasing a crane and dropping something heavy on her, or opening a valve and pouring a bunch of wet concrete on her, or something like that. I think that's what it is. I think they're getting ready to pour the foundation of a building, and you can push her into the pit and then turn on the concrete machine.
Nice.
And bury her in the concrete foundation.
The mental image I had of 47 doing a ritualistic blessing of a construction site dressed as a shaman or something like that is very funny.
He's got this pointy straw hat and just linen robe or whatever, and I'm pretty sure it's the way it's scripted is kind of silly. He's just this might be the one thing that he's actually scripted as not doing very well. He's just and cleanse.
Yeah.
He just sort of waves his arms around because he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. that, and I remember I saw the shaman, and I was like, there's got to be something cool to do with that. And then I couldn't find the construction site. So eventually I was like, you know what? I was streaming this, so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go do something else entertaining, and did the fish one. So.
Hell yeah. It's a pain. Again, we already talked about how this level is a lot of like running back and forth. You know where, what's his name? P Face or whatever his name is. That's the tattoo artist.
Yeah.
You know the little bar where he's hanging out when you first meet him?
Yeah.
The construction site's like even past that.
Yeah, it's way the fuck like out at the edge of the map. You don't want to
run all the way the fuck out there.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's worth it once you get out there and the events unfold, but like all that shit didn't need to be quite so far apart from each other.
Yeah, for sure. And so speaking of the tattooist, the final target in this map is Rico Delgado. And my first run, I legit don't remember what I did. This was a couple years ago. But this time I did the mission story where Rico wants a new tattoo. And so you hear about this and you can impersonate the tattooist. And again, technical skill that 47 just has innately. He goes and he starts giving this guy a tattoo, and I let it go for a little bit because I was soaking it all in. My wife does tattoos as a hobby, and she's done all of my tattoos that I have.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she's really, really good at it because she has almost an entire lifetime of drawing and like very fine motor skill, practice and stuff like that. And it's just very funny to me that 47 is like picking up a tattoo gun and he's like, yes, let us begin the tattoo. and so he tattoos him, and then you get a button prompt that says kill. And and this is pretty brutal. He jams the tattoo gun into the guy's ear, and that's how he kills him. And that's I don't know what I was expecting, but that was not what I was expecting.
And it's this weird, it's this quick time action system that they use a lot, where like the other one that comes to mind is back in Hitman 1 in Marrakesh, when you assume Connie Angstrom's outfit, the masseuse.
Right.
And so what it does is the mission story takes you to a moment where you are in a scripted interaction with other characters, and you have a couple of different options at all times, right? So like at all times, you can either hit A to continue tattooing, or you can hit X to kill him. And if you hit A to continue tattooing, the situation might continue to change, right? And so maybe the final tattoo that 47 puts on this guy's neck wouldn't look very good. But for at least like 3 or 4 minutes, he does a convincing job being a tattoo artist in front of 2 other observers before he asks him to leave, and you finally get the chance to jam it into his ear.
Right, exactly. And yeah, it's just that kind of stuff is just endlessly entertaining. And I mean, there are a lot of games that leave me with lasting memories, but so many of these 47 impersonations and stuff, like him playing drums or him doing this tattoo, these are things that will stick with me just from how absurd and very funny they are. So yeah, anything else about Santa Fortuna?
The tattoo artist's name is P Power. I had to look it up. I knew it was P something.
P Power. And what a name.
I don't remember very many of the specifics of these missions, but I had 2 other very vivid memories of assassination moments from that, and one of them is actually, I think they are both Rico Delgado.
Okay.
One of them is that he is having like there's some mission around him having a statue commissioned for himself in the village square, and if you take all the right actions and like make it so that the thing happens and the dude shows up, then there's a moment where like you can loosen the fitting on the like thing that is holding up this huge statue, and like while he's on stage addressing the townspeople, it like comes crashing down from behind him.
Hell yeah.
And crushes him. And then there is also one where somewhere on that map there's an underground chamber with a submarine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some experimental stuff is happening down there. I think somebody got hurt or something like that, and you can like lure him down there to investigate, and then I forget exactly what it is that does him in. I don't know if you drop the submarine on him or
Yeah,
I don't know.
You're fucking with either like the wiring or like
the propeller,
the support system or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
But I just remember it being this like it's this very like almost like Goonies like underground cavern.
It is. Yeah.
With this like submarine suspended down there.
Yeah, I was because I was down there and I was looking around the submarine stuff and I was like, oh, you can sabotage the submarine, but there's literally like 30 technicians in that room. So I was like, I'm not sure how to do this. I'm going to go try something else. So yeah. The next level is
it's a good map. I just think it could be stitched together a little better. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. The next map is Mumbai, the streets of Mumbai, and the movie set. And again, you have 3 targets. The first one is named Vanya, second one is named Dawood, and the last one is Wazir. And this one has a, let's see.
The Maelstrom?
Yeah, this one has a story where you don't know the identity of the third target yet, and you have to do some kind of detective work. And for most people, I would assume that's infiltrating this gang and getting his information from their hideout. At least that's how I've done it both times. I don't know, maybe that's how you have to do it.
Does that involve running around the city and like investigating a lot of people?
I think you can do that, or
is that a separate one?
It's the same, like identifying the target, but
yeah,
you can either go around the street and like kind of stare at some NPCs and Diana will say like, that's him, or no, that's not him. Or you can infiltrate the gang hideout and you can just go see a picture. And
collect like 3 clues that verify his identity or something.
Yeah. And then once you're done with that, you have mission stories to take him out. Or my first time, he's just walking around the street. So I just like found a rooftop and shot him from up top. The second time, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the first time I found him was actually by going down into the hideout, and like he was just in there and there was no one else in the room, so I was just like, oh, you're him, I'm gonna kill you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I did that, and then I just like bounced out another door because I don't think there's anywhere in his room to hide a body, so I was just like, oh, I'm out.
Yep. The second playthrough I did the mission story where you can impersonate a barber who is giving people shaves, and this is just fantastic.
I love that one. I love that one.
So he comes in for a shave, and you can give shaves to other people too. So I did a couple of other people, 47. Actually, I would believe that 47's good with a straight razor. So anyway, he comes in for a shave. He talks a bunch of shit, as these targets always do when you get close to them. He talks a bunch of shit, and this really reminded me of a scene from Game of Thrones, or there's a short story, I can't remember what it's called. It's called Lather and Nothing Else, or something like that, where an officer from an opposing army goes into a shop to get a shave, and like it's a very tense scene, and it's the same in that Game of Thrones scene, where it's like, does this person have the courage to just, kill him while they're doing the shave? And so this is exactly the same way, except 47 has what it takes. So that's a very satisfying
because it's
story.
your thumb.
Yeah.
Because it's your thumb that's going to give him what it takes.
Well, 47, he's in complete control of what's going on. Mm-hmm. So that was a fun mission story.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I really like... So I can't remember... I think we talked about this a little bit, either on one of your streams or just in a side conversation. But at some point, this feels like one of those kind of missions that has like additional objectives, where at a certain point they started making them optional, which was great.
Yeah,
and I can't remember if having to hunt down the Maelstrom through all those steps is mandatory every time or if it's optional.
Yeah, I don't know because my progress got reset when I moved into the Hitman 3 engine, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I think either way, I think it's something that I pretty much from the start found more interesting in concept than I did in execution.
mhm.
Like I thought it was cool that I had to hunt, that I didn't know who the target was and I had to hunt him down. Very infrequently did I enjoy the process of having to hunt him down.
Yeah, it would get tedious because I don't know, making it optional,
Especially with how good so many of the other targets' mission stories are.
right? Making it optional was the right choice for these, non-assassination stories, at least in Hitman 3 when they do become optional. So, but yeah, the other stories here are very, very good. We have Vanya, who she is just like lording over these people in the slums, and she has
she's kind of like a slum queen.
she has she actually does have like a little throne area set up for herself, but there's a part where you can see people basically like begging her for money, and she's like, "Oh no, sorry, can't help," So she has a couple of good mission stories. My favorite one is when she's ordered a dress, and this tailor is basically like refusing to do it, or he's scared to do it, or something like that. So you impersonate the tailor, and you go to take her measurements for the dress, and you basically get a free kill when you're measuring, her shoulders or something like that. She's turned around, you're right behind her, and you can just choke her with the measuring tape. And she also had a servant in the room, and her servant saw me do it, so her servant got a fish thrown to the head.
I was just gonna say, I'm pretty sure I watched that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of those weird ones where they don't actually. There isn't a point in that mission story where you can be alone. There is a point where like that servant is turned around the other way,
Yeah.
and so you can get away with killing them without being seen. But it's one of the ones where they force you to do your dirty work while someone else is in the room.
Exactly. Yeah. So, the other mission story I did with her is there's I forget what like the reason for this is, but she can get her to give you like a tour of, her part. She's in this like rail yard, and she has like some kind of weird exploitative empire going on within the city, and she's giving you a tour, and you go up on this bridge, and she's like giving a speech to the workers below, and you can just kick her off this bridge.
Oh, that's awesome. Like right in front of everybody?
Yeah, it's another one of those things that's like it counts as an accident, like everyone thinks she fell, but obviously you pushed her off. But yeah, I
love that.
She's giving this kind of, fake motivational speech to all the workers who she's fucking over from, high up on this bridge, and you can just push her off.
Ah, the symbolism's so good.
Yeah, that one's good.
One of the things that IOI has done so cleverly with the series is create a platform where heavy-handed commentary doesn't feel heavy-handed,
because everything,
or at least you don't. It doesn't bother you.
Yeah, because everything is, and everything's pretty heavy-handed, and they joke, and they have all these stupid little one-liners and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think I'll give my favorite here, which I think will probably be a good transition to the final target of this map.
Sure.
Because by far my favorite feature of Mumbai is the Kashmirian.
Yeah.
The Kashmirian is an NPC on this map who is posted up in one of the Chawl residences. Like it's like I don't know if I think I'm using that word right, but like it's kind of like a oval shaped or a rectangular shaped kind of apartment building with like a central courtyard.
Right.
And it's probably like 3 stories tall. And if you find the right one and you go up to the 3rd floor and you find the right corner, you find this guy who Diana identifies as the Kashmirian, who happens to be just like a colleague. He's your peer. He's another assassin.
Yeah. He's not affiliated with the ICA at all. He's just another assassin.
Yeah. And he's when you first find him, he's got a sniper rifle set up on a tripod, and he is standing like out at the edge of the balcony with a pair of binoculars, and he's looking up towards the other target, Rangan.
Dawood is his name. Dawood Rangan.
Dawood, that's it. Yeah, Dawood Rangan's tower. And what you can do is you can step up to the sniper rifle and see that the like sight is just like not adjusted very well, so you can fix it. So you just give him like a little nudge in the right direction, and then you just bounce. And then what you have to do is you have to go over into Dawood Rangan's tower and take a couple of steps to maneuver him into the right place so that the Kashmirian snipes him and kills him for you. And I believe in that instance you impersonate an artist who is like doing a portrait of Dawood Rangan because he's this big like huge ego like Bollywood producer or director, and then like I think in maybe the moment that blew my mind the most in this entire installment of Hitman was that after I had completed that, Diana makes it clear that you can then go on to use the Kashmirian to kill Vanya Shah too.
Mm-hmm. Because in his apartment, right? You can see in his apartment he has a big map, and he has marked his sniper spot, and then there are strings pointed at both where Vanya is and where Dawood is. So when I did this, I had already killed Vanya, so I was like, okay, I'll go take care of Dawood. Yeah. But you do get you should know by looking at that map, like you can use this guy for either one of these people or both.
When I was watching you do that on Twitch, I had to restrain myself so much when you were in that room specifically. I was just like, look at the map, look at where those places are.
And I did. I tried, because you're trying to find his sniper spot. And so I was trying to like use the map, like the Hitman like game map.
It doesn't map very well to the game map.
And I just had a really hard time, and I was looking all over, and then finally I think you told me, you're like, just go upstairs in the apartment building. He's just upstairs. And I was like, oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because he's not in his room. You found his room, but you didn't find his sniper spot.
Right. His sniper spot's upstairs. So
yeah. But then, if memory serves, like once you get Dawood Rangan shot down, you can then like he'll change positions so that he's got a clean shot on like the L train platform. And then what you have to do is you have to go impersonate somebody that Vanya is supposed to be meeting with on that platform. You meet each other, and then like while you're standing right in front of her, this guy, the Kashmirian, shoots her down.
Yeah.
And that's 2 targets down without you having to like kill anything.
Yeah, it's a very cool thing for the game to set up for you. You are setting up the kills for somebody else, which is cool.
Yeah. Like they're not accidents, but they're also still not kills that you had a direct hand in.
Right. So and the one where he kills Dawood is so good. If I remember, I'm going to have to post, because I think I took some screenshots, or I'm at least going to have to look on Google and take some pictures. Because when you're painting this portrait of Dawood, and he's posing in front of another painting of himself. Like his ego is
like a pop art, like an Andy Warhol painting of himself.
And he's posing in front of. He wants that to be the background of this new painting of himself, and so and the painting that's in the background says "I'm rich" in big letters on it, which is, I mean, it's so over the top that it's so good. And 47 flawlessly paints this portrait, and he's just, like a painter would do for their subject. He's saying like, okay, little to the left, okay, hold still. And then he says, like, very
Yep.
calmly, hold your breath, please. And then the shot comes right. And then he says, thank you, or very good, or something like that. And then you can finish the painting, and 47 paints crosshairs over Dawood, which is a nice touch. And this just
so
blew
good.
my mind when I was doing it in the stream. It's so cool.
It's so funny because you can totally imagine like the way that that it's he's one of the characters that they like communicate their personality the fastest, Dawood Rankin, and I feel like you can immediately imagine like if he didn't die today, then in 5 years he would have a collection of paintings that are just like it's a painting of him posing in front of a painting of him posing in front of a painting, etc., etc.
Yeah.
I think one other thing I would love to mention about this particular one is I remember this just bolted into my head, but I remember doing the Silent Assassin suit only run for this level, and you actually can use the Kashmirian, at least for him. I can't remember exactly how I got shot, but at least for him, there's a way to set the Kashmirian up, and then when you get into Dawood Rangan's office or penthouse suite or whatever he calls that room, where you paint him, you don't actually have to knock the painter out. If you hang outside the room, I think there was like some ledges, and I climbed outside and I hung outside the window for a second, just like listen to him. The loop that the painter does is he keeps going back and forth between his easel and his paints, and he keeps like grabbing his hair and like complaining about how his paint set just like doesn't have the right color. And he swear he had it here, but he just can't find. He just doesn't have the right color, and if he can't find the right color, Dawood Rangan's going to be pissed. And I forget exactly how you get it, but like somewhere on the map you can find a tube of paint, and if you can sneak into that room and drop it in there, and then sneak back out, then the same thing will happen, but you don't have to be the artist.
Right.
Like the artist will be the artist, which is the only way that obviously you can get this suit only.
Right.
Is by not taking his disguise.
Very cool. The other mission story, just real quick, the other mission story I did for him was there is a photo shoot that he's doing, and so you can take part in the photo shoot. 47 crushes it, as always, and then he invites you up to the top of his unfinished skyscraper, and you can just push him off the side. So that was cool. And pushing him off the side causes a big panic inside the building, which was kind of hard to escape from, but still
because you're 7 floors up.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to get out of there, but it was a pretty satisfying kill because he's just the worst. I mean, everybody in this game's the worst, but this guy's he's one of those people that would just be insufferable to be around for more than a couple of seconds.
Exactly, right. Like there's evil deserve to die, but then there's also just like grating I can't stand you.
Exactly.
And this guy's both.
Yeah.
Yeah, that building has an empty elevator shaft that runs almost the full vertical length of it. So that's probably the best way to escape after a situation like that.
Yeah. I think you can climb or slide down an elevator shaft. Yeah, something like that. And one of my escapes from this level, which I thought was funny, is 47 just gets in a taxi and just leaves like very casually after all of this chaos.
Yeah, and actually, I think that sounds like the one I probably use the most often. I feel like this one has a lot of exits that you need to like pick up items for.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about that a little bit in the last episode, but there are a lot of exits that require you to like find the keys to the boat or the plane or the truck, or whatever. And I feel like this one has a lot of them, but that's one of the ones that's kind of centrally located and always available.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the next level is Whittleton Creek, which is that suburb in Vermont, and you have two targets. The first one is Janus, who was a main character from the first game, and the other one is named Nolan, who, and I don't really remember his purpose, but like we said earlier, Janus was like the former Constant. So very, very important in like the lore and background story of Hitman. But it's time for him to go. So let's kind of talk about Nolan first, I guess, because he is, I guess he's the least important for like the actual story. So for Nolan, I should say you also have an objective on this map to collect intel about Providence. But it's literally just collecting some items, so it's not really, I don't think it's worth going deep into.
It's the only reason you do it is to justify the following level, which is the Isle of Scale,
right?
And so it pieces together like where Providence meets and when and how you get there,
right? So with Nolan, I did 2 mission stories. The first one is the real estate tour I talked about before the spoiler wall, but what happens during this tour is really funny. How 47 is explaining all of the rooms from the perspective of an assassin, saying things like, this room has hardwood floors that make for easy cleanup, or stuff like that. This is the kitchen. The kitchen is the most dangerous room in the house. And he makes all these comments, and you can go through like 10 plus rooms and give this tour, but eventually you go into kind of an armored safe in the basement that has a security system, and then Nolan goes inside, he sends his guard away, and you can lock the door to the safe and turn on the security system, which just like destroys him basically.
Yeah. It turns on the lasers, which then activate the explosives.
Yeah. And that's a fantastic mission story. I really love that.
I think I think I have to agree with you. I think that's probably my favorite Nolan mission story. This is probably one of my most like played levels of Hitman 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like intellectually, I appreciate Miami the most, I think, for its design, but I think there's something I find so funny about the juxtaposition of Agent 47 and what he does, and just like the placid, like serene backdrop of Vermont suburb.
Yeah, it's
classic Vermont.
It's
suburb.
not the chaos of the streets in Mumbai, or like the the evil, fortress in the Isle of Scale. It's just a neighborhood.
There's no shadows to hide in.
Yeah.
There's no like dense crowds to hide in. Like the definition of hiding in plain sight is so much different on this map than it is on any other map.
Yep. There's people having like cookouts in this level. It's just regular, neighborhood stuff.
So that was actually going to be the other mission story that I wanted to call out for Nolan, is that there is a party happening on one of the blocks. So the map is literally just like a small square block of this neighborhood, and so there's kind of a river. The edge of the map has a river and some like riverbank stuff, and there's like a park. But then other than that, there's literally like 15, 17 different houses on that map.
Mm-hmm.
Many of which you can't totally go into. But there's a house on the inner block that is having a cookout, like a backyard party that is open to anyone in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So like in your normal suit, you can walk right into the backyard and you won't be trespassing, which is super great. But once you get back there, one of the things you can witness is that Nolan Cassidy is standing outside with his lackey, and they're trying to decide whether or not to go inside, and one of them's like, it doesn't seem like they have any food, so maybe later. And so they walk away. And so if you walk into the party, you find out that like the reason they don't have any food is because the guy behind the grill is out of propane. And so if you can go find a propane tank and you come back, you can fix the grill. You can impersonate yourself as the cook. You can make some food. You can poison the food.
Yep.
You can serve it to Nolan Cassidy when he shows up, which I think is just a really good chain of events.
Yeah, that is cool. And the image of 47 on the grill is very funny to me, doing his Hank Hill.
Oh, he's got the apron. He's got the apron that says, like, kiss the cook. It's
fantastic.
It's classic. Oh, yeah.
The other time I killed Nolan was, I don't know if this is a mission story, but there's a fumigator, and you can take, I don't know if you have to take poison from his van, or if you can just use any poison, but you put poison in the ventilation system in the house that he and all his guards are in, and it knocks everybody out. And I don't remember if it kills everybody or if I just knocked everyone out and then silently killed him. But that was significantly less fun than the real estate tour.
Yeah, definitely. The rat poison from the truck definitely works. There might be some other poisons that work. I feel like it's probably dependent on the format it's in. Like a syringe wouldn't work,
right?
But like maybe a vial would. But I don't know if you can do it. I don't know if there are any lethal poisons you can do and actually kill everyone.
Yeah,
if you can just knock them out.
The other target is Janus, who we said is like the former constant for Providence, and this is eventually going to be your ticket to finding out where Providence is meeting. And so the first time I played, I did a very funny mission story where he has a big mole problem in his backyard, and you can impersonate the exterminator, and I don't know how you've. No, it's this guy. He's complaining that Janus's people won't let him in the backyard because he has explosives. So you get his explosives and you put them in the mole holes. And when Janus goes out to inspect, you hit the detonator and they blow up and kill him. And that's, I don't know. I thought that was very funny.
That's very good. I love almost every single scripted way there is to kill Janus on this map.
Yeah.
But by far two of my favorites, I guess. I think they're separate mission stories. There is one in which there is a doctor that appears on the map and is making a house call and is visiting Janus, because Janus is like this old decrepit man who has, cancers and like terminal diseases and shit. Has like he sucks off an oxygen tank like every day, and so like he has a doctor come visit him, and you can if you can capture and impersonate yourself as the doctor, you can get into his house and get alone with him in his room and like swap out his medication for lethal poison or something.
Yeah.
But the one that I do when I do Pseudo-Only Silent Assassin on this one, which again is also very fun because of the suburban backdrop, is he, like I said, he's got an oxygen tank. He's got like a rocking chair with an oxygen tank and mask in his room that he cycles back around to every few minutes. And he's also like an ex-smoker or a quitting smoker or something like that.
Yeah.
And if you can find a pack of cigarettes and put it in his room, then the next time he arrives in his room, he will light a pack of cigarettes. And if you just so happen to have, I don't know, used a wrench to loosen the valve on the oxygen tank in his room, the entire house explodes. And you can be on a bus headed for who knows where by then.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to do on my second playthrough. And I was streaming this one. I streamed the entire playthrough. So you can go watch this. But something caused like the AI scripting to bug out, and he refused to go in his house.
I've seen that happen. and not just on that map. I feel like I've seen that happen before, where people just like stop walking somewhere and then they just never start moving again.
So something caused his AI to like go into panic mode, and he just stood in the front yard in panic mode and could not be broken out of it. And I didn't want to like quick load back to a save that was, 15 minutes ago or something like that. So I ended up just going up on the roof and I threw a screwdriver at him, which is my favorite silent, lethal way to kill people, is to throw screwdrivers. Both in the game and in real life, of course.
It's efficient. They're so plentiful.
Exactly.
And cheap.
So
you can get them at any hardware store.
Yep. So I did that. I threw a screwdriver and then just booked it to an exit. I think, like you said, you can take the bus to leave this level, which is a very funny thing to do after you've just killed multiple people, is to just wait for the local bus to come. But there's also a covered bridge you can just walk across to leave the level, which reminded me of my hometown and the famous covered bridge. So I took that.
Which is also mine.
Yeah. So
there's this one also has a bunch of like item gated exits. If you found the keys to the garbage truck, you can take that out.
Mm-hmm.
I think there might be a boat or a canoe or something on the river that you can take out. I think there's even a place where you can exit through the sewers. Like you can drop down into one of the manhole covers that's in the middle of the street.
That's pretty
if you
good.
had a crowbar and got it open. Yeah, there's a couple of good ones.
So yeah, that's Whittleton Creek. I don't know if it actually stands up with the best of the levels, but like aesthetically and stuff, I really, really like that level. It's just a very nice, pleasant place to be. Unlike the next level, which is the Isle of Scale, which is, like we said, a castle fortress on this island in the middle of like the most turbulent sea you could possibly imagine. The waves are like insane if you look off the edge.
It's like Azkaban.
Yeah. It's basically...
It's like Azkaban.
Yeah. So there are some very good mission stories in this level. So you have two targets named Zoe and Sophia. They're sisters, and they are... I think they're like they're either board... Are they board members? Or they're like trying to be board members?
They are... they have been tapped... I believe that they... I can't remember if... I think they've been tapped to be the next... collectively be the next constant?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm making that up. Maybe you're right. Maybe they're just board members.
I think they're board members. Or they have something to do with the board. Because one of them is trying to like move up in the organization. So... one of my favorite...
And they're terrible. Their whole thing is that they just like plunder like cultural relics from around the world with no like regard for the cultures that they come from or the people that stand in their way or anything like that.
And so
some of the we're getting into the worst of the worst here.
Right. And I mean, to be a high-ranking official inside Providence, you basically have to be worst of the worst. So this mission story with the mission stories with Sophia, I think, are fantastic. Actually, with both of them, they're really good. But there's a couple very good mission stories with Sophia. So my favorite one is there is a treasure hunter named Blake Nathaniel, which is a nice Uncharted reference. And so
Nathan Blake, is that what his name is?
Nathan Drake.
Or Nathan Drake.
Yeah. And so you dress up as him. You have to steal a necklace from this like guarded kind of exhibit in there, and then you can get her alone and kill her. And I should have mentioned, like, there's a bonus objective to not kill the Constant, because the Constant has a kill switch in his neck or something like that, and the two sisters have the triggers. So you need to be probably more careful. I've never gotten in a situation where the Constant dies, but you do, I guess, have this extra pressure to like be clean with it.
Yeah, I believe what happens if that is that like if at any point you have to take out the two sisters and then escort the Constant off the
Right.
grounds. And if at any point one of the sisters becomes aware of the demise of the other sister, then either one of them has a kill switch that will kill the Constant because of an implant in his brain or some shit.
Gotcha. So yeah, you do the Blake Nathaniel thing, and there's like a little romantic hinting there between the two of them, and you can be alone in a bathroom, or something like that, and then you have your easy opportunity to take her out. So
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to go into the other kind of mission story I did, but do you have something for Sophia?
I don't I don't remember which one is associated with which mission story.
Mm-hmm.
But is she the one that you can interact with at the very top of the glass tower?
The glass
Or is that
tower. Probably, because I think this is where she spends a lot of her time, is over here. I think. I'm not sure.
okay?
Yes. This is the one. You mean the mission story where you impersonate the other council member and you're wearing that wild costume and you have a sit down with her at the top of that tower?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
because okay. So I think that's one of my favorites because if you let that encounter play on long enough, she escort or like scooches all the guards out of the room, and then she goes and she stands in front of this like it's this like gothic kind of art is all around the room, and she goes over, she stands in front of this open Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
And you can go up and you can push her into it and slam her shut, and the ground just like pools with blood.
Yeah.
And then you just gotta bounce.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was good. You also, before that, in order to get a private meeting with her, you have to take part in this vote of the council. And they are making this climate change proposal. And you have to go against her. And then she gets mad and she's like, okay, let me talk to you upstairs. And this whole time you're wearing this insane, elaborate outfit with these masks. And this is one of those skeleton key outfits that everyone in the map is cool with you. You can go anywhere wearing this. So yeah, that was my other mission story, just slamming her in the Iron Maiden. That was really funny.
Yeah, Jedediah Block, is that his name?
That's his name, Jebediah Block.
Jebediah Block?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, man. You first encounter him on, like, the roof, and he's, like, on the phone, and he's, like... Somebody's just convinced him that, like... I think it's the Constant. The Constant, like, takes him up to the roof, and he convinces him that, like... Hey, you rich asshole, this thing that you bought into, imagine what's going to happen when climate change hits and everybody dies and there's only like 200 of us. It's by definition going to be socialism. And then Jebediah Block's like on the phone to his accountant. He's like, why did you make me buy this? You think I want to be part of this socialist bullshit? It's just like very on the nose.
And inside of this level, there's an exhibit where you can go take a sales tour. They're selling these like underground bunkers for like the ultra rich to survive Armageddon, basically. And it's pretty funny when you go through that tour. Yeah, so that one's
God. There's not very much. There's not a lot of ways you could make a piece of media about that topic right now in the year of our Lord 2021 that I would be able to stomach. But for some reason, this just feels right. It's like the right blend of like disdain and satire.
All at the same time.
I'm like, yeah.
This the series is really like a greatest hits of, the horrible things that the rich and powerful are doing. And then this is like basically like, oh yeah, after the world is destroyed, they're going to be fine.
Yeah. But like to an extent, there's a little bit of a power fantasy there, right? Like we all sit at home like just fantasizing about murdering those people. And with this game, you can.
With a fish, a giant Fish.
With a fish, you can smack them all. You can if you hate the rich, you can smack them with a fish.
Fish smacking simulator, Hitman 2. So the other target is Zoe, and they're actually very good mission stories with her too. The first one I want to mention is probably the first one you'll find when you go through the level, where she does this big kind of show where she gets inside this burning effigy. There's some symbolic value for the organization of her doing this, but you can lock her.
It's like a phoenix, right?
Yeah, you can lock her inside of the effigy so that she burns alive in that.
Yeah, she's supposed to have this like trap door that lets her out, but you can like rig the trap door so she can't get out.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think my personal favorite for Zoe is well in the previous chapter you have assassinated Janus,
right.
former Constant,
mm-hmm.
and at this meeting on the Isle of Scale, one of the things that is about to take place is sort of a small little wake for Janus,
mm-hmm.
like an open casket wake,
yep.
right? And I think you have to like maneuver your way into the part of the grounds where his body is being prepared, and like disguise yourself as his dead body.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do that, then you can like be in the casket, in the area where like kind of one at a time, the other members of Providence are kind of coming up and expressing their condolences or spending a moment with the dead body, with air quotes,
right?
And when she comes up, you can just like, I don't know what you maybe snap her neck, maybe stab her or something like that, but like,
yeah, because
she thinks you're dead Janus, and instead you just get to like get her,
right? Because there's a burial knife that you have to find earlier in that mission story, and you're buried with he is to be buried holding this knife. And so as she's like getting up in Janus's face talking shit about, the new guard is here and stuff like that, 47 just grabs her and, stabs her with the knife.
So good.
Yeah.
There are a few things better than like getting somebody when they think that you are not a living person.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so sad. It's so satisfying.
And there's a bunch of times in this game where people are explaining their master plan, or they're directly talking shit to you or about you or who they think they're talking to, and you're able to kill them in the middle of that, and it's always pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, the game is good with like what is that? Poetic irony? Is that what that is?
Perhaps, yeah. Perhaps. My literature. So the two things I don't know much about are literature and race cars, and we're finding out in this episode. So, and just real quick, you escort the Constant out of the level, and you get in this kind of boat, and it doesn't show this, but it's implied, you pilot this boat out into the stormiest seas of all time on this kind of really small boat.
It's a little skip.
Yeah,
it's I'm pretty sure it's the same boat from Night Call. It's this little like inflatable thing with like a tiny outboard motor.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Surfing the choppy seas of what did you say, like off the coast of Scotland or something?
Yeah,
probably
it's something like that. Yeah. So
some northern sea.
So 2 more levels left. The next one is the bank in New York, where you only have one target, but you have another mission. So you either need to kill this woman named Athena Savalas, or you need to either infiltrate the vault and steal some data, or you need to get 3 data backups. Athena has 1, and then 2 other bank officials have the others. So I kind of like this because the vault heist is pretty fun. I enjoyed that. I did that the first time. I don't remember exactly the steps because it was a couple years ago. And then my second playthrough, I did the 3 backups from the other people because I killed Athena, and then suddenly the other people were nearby. So I was like, oh, I'll just go take them out.
It is way harder in my experience to collect all the hard drives than it is to infiltrate to break into the vault.
I'm sure, yeah.
I feel like we've talked at length about this level already tonight, but I think it's one of the most interesting levels topographically and mission story wise. We could easily spend an hour on it alone, but I want to say that, like, when I go back to this level, my perfect run is a vault infiltration, which actually is not as complicated. I think it would be interesting to see the ways in which it could be made more complicated. If you have a certain starting point unlocked, you can actually, like, get right into it and heist it, like, within the first few minutes of your playthrough. But the first time I did it, it was very satisfying because I didn't have that unlocked and I had to figure out how to get down there and how to deal with all the guards and stuff. It's a series of stealing security code cards and disabling grids and hitting buttons and stuff. But the best way, the most satisfying way to me to kill Athena is she has this office at the top of the bank that kind of overlooks the main bank, with this kind of big clock face that she, like, looks through. Like, it's comic book villainy. She stands there and she, like, puts her hand against the window and, like, says, like, look at all the poor little peons down there. Like, I can't believe we have to entertain these people just to, you know, be able to play on the financial level of Providence or whatever. And there are, like, a handful of mission stories that will get you into her office. But if you can get her into the office and you can get rid of the guards around her, in one of those moments where she's got her hand up against the window, or up against the office side of this clock face, and is giving this this like comically villainous monologue, you could just push her out through the glass and she falls, like, 3 floors in, like, and splats into the lobby and it just sends the entire place into chaos, but it counts as an accident. And then you just calmly walk out.
And that's what I did my first time, and I thought that was very cool. Like, this level is the way it's designed with, like, the different areas of the bank and how they are all very believable, like, doing their function. There's the safety deposit area, there's the lobby, there's like a stock trading area with all these traders on the phone with their supervisor.
The worst part of the map.
The
hardest part of the map to sneak through.
So I did that, push her through the clock face. And the way that I did that, the way you can get alone in the room with her, is that there's an employee that she's supposed to be firing. There's a meeting, and this guy with this crazy sweater, and you can impersonate him, and then you get a private meeting with her that way. There's also a mission story here where 47 does a job interview, which it doesn't get you close to the target, but it does get you deep inside the bank. And 47
gets you past a couple of, like, key security checkpoints.
And 47 doing the job interview is really funny. The way he answers questions and stuff like that.
Oh, right, because they do that, like, Rorschach test, right? Like, they show you, like, pay blobs and ask you, like, word associations, and his responses are always, like, super on brand for an assassin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's another...
Yeah, this is...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is one of those ones where there's only, like, a small handful of ways to kill the target, but, like a dozen different ways to get in the room with her.
Yeah. The other way that I got in the room with her is, this is not a mission story, but you can go into, like, a side room next to her office and turn off the Wi-Fi, and then she'll call IT. And again, this is not a mission story. This is just something I was like, hey, I wonder what happens if I turn off the internet. So she calls for IT. You can take the IT guy's disguise and you can rearrange her schedule on her laptop while you're fixing it. She says this thing where she's like, I don't want to answer any questions. I don't want to talk to you. Just fix my goddamn computer, or something like that. And so you do that. This happens in Hitman 3 also, but I think it's very funny. These people are so rich, they have no idea what their daily schedule is. They just kind of follow what's written down for them. So you can rearrange her schedule, and she goes into this meeting room by herself where you can have a semi-private. There's one guard in there, but that's not really a problem at this point in the game. So, yeah, that's all I got for the bank. We talked sugar about it before the spoiler section, but this level is it's fantastic. Looks incredible with ray tracing in the lobby and the shiny floors and stuff like that.
Yeah, you enter. I mean, it is a classic like New York bank. You enter in like a beige trench coat, and it's just we've covered, if we're lucky, half the mission stories here.
Right.
So play this level and discover all the little nooks and crannies and Easter eggs there are to be found in there.
Yeah, there's so much, and like I feel I've played this level twice, and I feel like I have a good grasp on like half of the rooms in it. Like, there are so many places that you can just not see. It's such a big bank. And if you come in the lobby, I feel like I have a good grasp on like the right half of the level, as you make your way up. But there's a lot of stuff. It's a good, just, I think if someone wanted to see like the quintessential Hitman level, I might say like, go check out the bank. In this game at least. Maybe in Hitman 1 I would say the Paris fashion show, but this one I
think it's and maybe what those two levels have in common is that like I love the Isle of Scale, but it is almost unwieldy with how big it is, not just in its size. Like it has a huge footprint, and it is very vertical. It has a lot of low floors, but it also has a lot of ways of traversing the map that are not like hallways or stairways, right? Like it's got a lot of ledges and pipes that you crawl down, and like these little ways of getting like little awkward like diagonal hallways that go from one floor to another at an angle, whereas like the bank is very blocky. It's very like, it is a big rectangular building, and you can break it into quadrants or halves or floors, and it makes sense. It's like easier to conceptualize than, a Gaelic castle.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and I think that when you think about Hitman levels as clockwork designs, that clockwork stuff works the best when you just have one big building and all of the moving parts within that building. Like, I think Sapienza is a great level, but it has parts that don't really interact with each other because they're too far away from each other. And when you have just one big building like the Paris Fashion Show or like this, you really see the moving parts and how people will go from one area to another and stuff like that. So
yeah, and everything ripples. I mean, everything you see is an opportunity to influence one of the other things you see.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the last level of Hitman 2, which is the Maldives level. And you have 3 targets here. This is another level where 47 checks in under his alias, Tobias Reaper, which is a fantastic alias for an assassin. Yeah, Tobias Reaper. And you have 3 targets. You have a woman named Ludmilla, I think is how you say her name, and I did not write her last name down. You have a dude named Tyson Williams. Ludmilla is kind of moving around the resort area, just checking on people in the resort area. You have Tyson Williams, who has his own private mansion area. And then you have Stephen Bradley, who's spending his time just being a fucking maniac, running around the island, hanging out, wants to get on his jet ski.
Trust fund kid-y kind of guy.
Yeah, you get that sense. So I did the same mission story for Ludmilla both times, so we'll start with her. There's a mission story where you retrieve a USB disk, or USB disk, your USB drive, that has some like sensitive information about her on it. And you can also use this USB drive for some stuff with Tyson Williams. But if you give it to Ludmilla, she wants to meet with you privately in this massage room office. And she sends out the massage people, and you can kill her by pushing her into the water, which is like 3 feet deep. So I'm not really sure how it kills her, but it does. And I did that both times.
It's like a 2-foot fall into that crystal clear, like white sand beach water that is only like 2.5 feet deep,
and she dies instantly when she hits the water.
And somehow it is lethal.
So maybe just off camera, she falls in and a shark grabs her. That's what I'll say is canonically what's happening.
I love it. I think it's worth mentioning real quickly that the final level of Hitman 1 is Hokkaido, which is a ethically questionable luxury spa and hospital and medical facility that the insanely wealthy and most terrible people in the world use to do things like get plastic surgery that completely changes what they look like, so that people don't recognize them.
Right.
And the resort in the Maldives in the very final level of Hitman 2 is called Haven, and it is a image rehabilitation facility and resort that specializes in basically laundering the rich and powerful's terrible like PR and personality and identity, right? Their public image. And prominently featured in both, which is something I both love and I'm uncomfortable with, in both levels, is the character Jason Portman. Jason Portman has a hut at Haven while you're there, which I think is very funny that he shows up in both of these facilities in particular. Like, what the fuck? What kind of monster is Jason Portman that he is getting facial reconstruction surgery? He's getting image rehabilitation assistance. But I also think it's kind of awkward because, like, there's nothing stopping you from killing Jason Portman in Hokkaido. So there's a little bit of like a
oh, sure. Yeah. Like a
narrative discontinuity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If he shows up in Haven. But one of the very first things that Ludmilla Petrova does in this is visit him. I think it's his hut, which is right next to your hut where you start. And I think most of the times that I have killed Ludmilla Petrova, I have just very quickly gotten up out of my starting chair from my hut and snuck down the stairs and gone underneath his hut and snuck up into the bathroom and undone the trap door and then turned on the water and then snuck out of the room so that she comes in to turn off the faucet and falls through the trap door, and then I kill her in the water underneath the hut.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Not actually even any of the mission stories. I'm just like, she wanders around too much, so
she is wandering.
Deal with her in the first 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. And one cool thing that Scott, you mentioned earlier before the spoiler wall is that how there's like a couple of environmental changes in this level. So after you kill your first person, a storm begins to brew after the first person, right?
It's like a very bright tropical island.
Yeah.
Like palm trees, cloudless blue sky, bright white sand when you start. And then, like the skies start to darken in the distance after your first kill.
And then after your second kill, a proper storm has arrived, and it's thundering, and the wind is blowing, and the sky is really dark, and it's really cool. Like, it's incredibly cool. Storms in Red Dead Redemption 2, also like very, very awesome storms that roll in from time to time. And this one is really, really cool, and it progresses as you kill the targets.
Yeah, and it's like raging by the time you have to escape
Mm-hmm.
once you kill the last target. Like,
which makes
people have taken cover, and
which makes my
It's just
escapes
such
even more funny when I get to talking about how I escaped the level, which is very good.
oh, I can't wait.
So the second target is we'll go with Tyson Williams because I always kill him. I always kill Stephen Bradley last. So Tyson Williams, there's a couple things you can do, and I don't think either of them are direct mission stories. The USB thing is a mission story, I think. So you can give him the USB stick, and because he treasures this data that's on it, he fires his personal bodyguard and makes you his personal bodyguard, and you're inside of his soundproof armor.
As an emotionally stable human being would do.
Yeah, exactly. You gave me this, thank you for this USB drive. You are now my protector.
My second in command.
Yeah. So you're in this soundproof room, and it's there's a camera in there, but you can shoot the camera and kill him in quick succession. So I did that my first time. There's another story where, and I don't know if it's a mission story, but his jacuzzi is broken, and you can fix his jacuzzi, and then he'll go sit in it, and you can drown him in there. So,
yeah, I like that one. That's one I've used several times. He also, on his tour around his little mansion, this is another one of those maps where, like, the three people, they all wander to some extent, but they are fairly self-contained.
Yeah.
Like, they each have kind of a third of the map.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as spread out as Santa Fortuna, but they are kind of contained to their own areas. But Tyson Williams probably walks around the least. He just walks around his mansion, and he stops in this room that has a big screen TV and kind of like a love seat with a wall partition.
yeah.
And if you're crafty, you can like incapacitate the guard that travels around with them, and then kill him in there and stuff them both in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of my favorites is because he's also sick, right? He's got some sort of like
he's coughing as he's walking around, and he's got like some major skin trouble. Yeah.
And so he also, this is another one, I feel like this is a thing that happens in a lot of Hitman levels, but like there's a doctor that makes a house call,
Mm-hmm.
and you can impersonate the doctor, and then when you get into his room, that's like the moment you get alone with them, and you can, I forget exactly how it works, recommend some pills that are actually poison and not helping his condition or
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Gotcha. And the last target, which the ways I kill him are very funny, and the escape from the missions are very funny. So we're going to end this podcast on a high note. Stephen Bradley is kind of this exercise adrenaline freak. He's always either running around the level, or he wants to get on his jet ski. And the jet ski instructor is like holding his key. He won't give him his key. And you can either get the key from the instructor, or you can just find it. Like there's another key underneath this kind of lounge area. It's like in the sand. You can find another key down there. But you give him his key.
They're running a tight ship over there on
exactly.
Haven Island.
There's just you can give him his key, and he'll go get on the jet ski and ride around. If you have an explosive, you can blow up the jet ski when he's riding it. But what's even better is you can get this thing called the homing briefcase, which, and I don't remember how I did this, but I did this the first time, and I think I had just looked up how because I had heard about it. But it's literally he's riding a jet ski, and you throw this briefcase, and it tracks and hits him and kills him on impact.
I don't think that's a special item. I think that's a quirk of like the throwing.
Is it a
mechanic.
glitch?
I think like what you did is like you targeted at him and threw it, but then he started moving faster than it.
Okay.
And like it's the briefcase is just gonna follow him.
Okay. So I did that the first time, and it's very funny.
I don't think it's a special briefcase.
He's speeding around on his jet ski, and there's a briefcase flying in the air, tailing him like a homing missile in Star Wars or something like that. And it hits him and kills him, and that was very entertaining.
I also take him out on the jet ski. I particularly enjoy. I forget where you get it. I think it must be from one of there are like little security outposts scattered across the island.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can find a remote explosive, you can just attach it to his jet ski, and then you give him the keys. And while he's out there, you just and the whole thing goes up.
Yeah, and remote explosive kills in Hitman are always good because you're just casually walking away as you hit the trigger and the explosion happens in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Action movie shit.
Oh yeah, it's the stereotypical like cool action movie hero shit.
Walk around, walk calmly away from the explosion. This most recent playthrough, I didn't want to do the jet ski thing. So he goes to this like lounge area where he has a private chef and there's a grill. And I was trying to set up a kill where I could get the grill to explode because you can start a gas leak and then someone turns on the grill. But like no one would interact with the grill when he was there. So I ended up, first of all, there's some crab holes under this thing. And if you stuff an item in the crab hole, the crabs will come out. And Stephen Bradley takes it upon himself to kill the crabs, and he like chases them around yelling, which is, I assume you can use this to your benefit for some kill, but otherwise it's just very funny, like stupid Hitman comedy.
That's amazing.
And then he comes back after he's taking care of the crab problem. And I posed as the waiter, and 47 does a very elaborate, shaking up this magical drink with poison in it. And it's just very funny. It has these like...
You don't stir your poison. You
shake it. And by shaking it, it has these big red fumes coming out of it. Like, and I just had this thing like, this is obviously like, you should not be drinking this. There is red smoke pouring out of this thing. And I'm just thinking like, oh, this is 47's like, oh, this is just this magical tropical drink here. This is the Agent 47, the Reaper special. And so he drinks it and he dies. And that was how I took him out this most recent time.
That's awesome. But that's a good one.
And as this is happening, the storm is rolling, and it's just really cool. Yeah, very cool. The escapes in this level are noteworthy for me because this most recent time I rode away on his jet ski, which this is the Maldives. This island that you're on is secluded. So, like, I don't know.
And a storm is whipping up.
And a giant storm is, like a tropical storm is happening or something like that. And so 47's riding a jet ski for, like, I don't know, 100 miles or something to the nearest island. I assume this is a very secluded island. But the funny one to me is that the first time I played it, you can just put on scuba gear and swim away from the island, which
you just slip away.
Yeah, like a dolphin. And during the storm away from this secluded island, 47 just swims away. It's fantastic.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
it's like the jet ski off into the mountains of Japan, or the snowmobile off into the mountains of Japan while dressed as a yoga instructor.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, I have no doubt that 47 could swim 100 miles, but it's just very funny to me that that's his escape.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever done that one. I've definitely done the jet ski. I think there are a couple of jet skis you can probably make off on.
There's some seaplanes you can get out.
A seaplane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which would make sense because that's how people in the Maldives go from island to island.
That's how you get there.
Yeah, you get there on a
seaplane. Not by boat.
Yeah,
by seaplane.
But 47
certainly not by jet ski,
and certainly not by swimming.
I was gonna say, he's like, hey, throw me the flippers.
Yeah.
No, keep the oxygen tank. I'll be fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
I just need the wetsuit and the flippers.
What a good one. Yeah, exactly. It's great. And Yeah, that's
Well, and I believe what happens at the end. How does that mission end? You end that the story ends kind of with the revelation that
the Constant's gone.
Yeah, the Constant's gone, and that the people you thought you were tracking down have successfully eluded you, right? Like, you went to Haven because you were trying to track down the identity of 3 people who were on the Haven servers because they had their identity refurbished.
Yeah.
And they it turns out that you did not get there in time or something like that, and they eluded you, and so the whole of Hitman 3 is then figuring out what to do next.
Yeah.
With no cards on being held by anybody on your side.
And there's this, I forget if this cutscene is before the Maldives level or after it, but there's this cutscene of the Providence board, and they're in this like floating triangle base in like the
that's
mountains.
Like hanging from cables in like the Alps or some shit.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. Just like secret society shit. Like very funny.
It's
to see.
Comedic super villainy. Like,
yeah, it's really good. So
yeah.
Oh man,
which is, I think it's after, because it's when the Constant escapes and gets back to Providence,
right?
And it's like, here's what I know and what we have to do about it.
Yeah,
and we'll find out where that takes everybody on the next one.
Yes, we will. And we are at about the 4-hour mark on this episode. So, want to say,
feel like there's some bad jokes and stuff you can cut out of there to chop some of that time down.
No, I'm gonna do some more bad jokes by myself and cut those in. Let's get this. So, for everybody who has listened this far, thank you so much, and I hope that you enjoy reliving these levels as much as Scott and I have. And Scott, thank you again for talking Hitman with me. We'll be back for installment number 3 in the future.
I very much look forward to it. I can talk about this game for way too long at a time. Yeah.
So the first episode was about 2.5 hours. This one's about 4 hours. So join us for the 6.5 hour Hitman 3 spectacular.
It's a quadruple length season finale.
Yeah. We should probably wait for that announcement for 2022, and if there's DLC, we should do that, and then we'll do our Hitman 3 episode. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. So again, Scott, thanks so much. It's been a blast talking Hitman with you.
Thanks for having me. I promise I can talk about other games too sometime. But
yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say, like, we're not forcing Scott to be the Hitman guy, but we do love these games, and once we do Hitman 3, or even before that, we can find another game to do. You're always welcome on the show, dude.
I love it, man. Always love to talk to you about games.
Hell yeah. All right, everybody, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.